Okay. Performed a magic trick that you weren't aware of. I know they was about to pause me. They over there ready to pause me right now.
I paused it already.
That's crazy. He said he's with the
That's
coffee
wild.
and he sucked it.
Yeah, I know. I
crazy.
know. So let's start over. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hope, where we get paused every time we say something questionable. Because this is our culture. I'm really excited about tonight's class. For the next 3 hours, it's going to be bangers continuously back and forth. So please buckle up because there's a lot of information to go over. And this is the first class where we're going to be really alternating, which allows just the sequence and flow of whoever's plan it is to come together. So I'm excited for y'all. I'm excited for how we putting it together and the information. So we hope that it can get conveyed in a way that you can glean it. Some of the stuff may be the same stuff. It may be taught differently just because of the idea of wanting it to come at different angles. Again, stop me if you have any questions because I don't want to run through this information and it sounds good and it goes over the head, but in actuality, you kind of didn't know what the hell I was saying or just kind of were too embarrassed to ask questions. This is where there are no stupid questions, and this is the opportunity to really dig in. This is for our culture. So I'm hella excited. Let's get cracking. So let's start. The title of this class on this side is leading from above the line. So let's get started. Go ahead.
Go back.
Why we need stress. Adult characteristics are activated by stress.
Okay. Why we need stress. So you see there's a presupposition there. It's not, do we need stress? It started out why we need stress. It is important that you have to understand that us as adult humans, we have to have stress in our life. We have to. Does anybody disagree with that? Guy right here. Understand, a lot of times we are manipulated by plenty of marketers and religions and businesses and products and services that promise you to relieve your stress. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, that's what makes this so cold and this topic so big. Your stress levels can be taken away. Mm-hmm. Hey, remember Calgon? Remember Calgon? Oh, just saying the word Calgon, if you old enough, it makes you just like, oh, take me away. Because all the problems that you had going on, you can just pour that bullshit in your bathtub, and now life is just so peaceful. Not that your problems ain't going to be waiting for you when you get out that bathtub. And if you're the only one that live in your house, once you take the plug out and the water drains, you got to clean that dirty ass bathtub. The object is to make you feel like stress levels need to be removed. Like you don't need stress. You don't need it. Religions win off that. The whole promise of heaven. In some religions, a paradise on earth. Paradise on earth. You don't die. You won't have no problems. You'll look young forever. And if I can convince you strong enough and well enough that once you follow me or give me money or give me your attention, your time, or your money, I'm going to exchange the value with you as stress. Think about that. Think about that. Most self-help programs or seminars that you have to pay exorbitant amounts of money for, their promise to you is to make whatever you want easy. You want to start your business? 5 easy steps, 10 easy steps. You rock with me, I'll make it easy for you. I did all the hard work already, so you don't have to. But adult characteristics are activated by stress. What does that mean? Let's go to the next slide.
Adrenal glands, not too low. Adrenal glands and testosterone create different phenotypes.
Okay, so understand this scientifically. Adrenal glands and testosterone create different phenotypes, which means you can have the same organism. And once you add adrenal glands and testosterone to it, it will change form. It will change its shape. So the first example, the story of the dog and the wolf, that goes even deeper. So how many of us know about the story of the wolf, dog and the wolf? Everybody in here?
Online. I don't think everybody online, so you can describe it.
So there's a story that Nana talks about. Dope ass analogy. It's called the wolf and the dog, right? And that is, and you can correct me if I don't say it right, but there's a dog that was say behind a fence, and a wolf walks up to it, and the dog says, "Man, you tripping, like life is good. I eat when I want to. I play. I got a warm bed to sleep at night. I don't really want for nothing." And the wolf looks at the dog's collar and like, hell no, and walks away. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. Meaning, it's incalculable for a wolf to even think about somebody putting a collar on its neck. It just doesn't work. You're a slave to something, like you have a master, like you have an owner. Like, what the fuck is that? I rather hunt what I kill. I rather eat what I kill. I rather have the freedom to eat what I kill. And that freedom is what the difference between a dog and a wolf. The dog forgets that it has a master. It just forgets over time. But here's where it gets deeper. If you take a wolf, because here's the thing about nature, universe, and evolution. It doesn't like to waste anything. Don't waste. So whatever you don't use, you lose. Remember that. In nature, whatever you don't use, you lose. So if you worked out for 10 years and you got big and buff, and you worked out for 10 years, if you sat on the couch and did nothing for a year, what will happen? Your body collapses. Doesn't matter if it was 10 years or not, because nature only rubs up against what it uses. So how this translates to a dog. So, this is science. Scientifically, if you take a wolf and you domesticate it, meaning you take a wolf puppy and you take it home, bring it home with you. And you raise it like a dog, and you feed it, and you nurture it, and you give it a little couch, and you give it a little collar and a little jacket to wear, and you feed it 3 times a day. And you made it with another wolf that you domesticated. You know what will happen? Over time, some wolf puppies will come out with spots and tails that won't stand up. I mean, ears that won't stand up. You'll get dogs with round noses and spots and curly hair and all different types of variations, because they were not born with the stress that creates a wolf. So when biology realizes that it doesn't have the stress that wolves have, it pulls back, because you're not giving it, it's not using as much testosterone and adrenal glands, and the dogs start to change forms. That's why we have all these different types of dogs, because every dog you see is an ancestor of a domesticated wolf. That's some cold shit. I don't know if you ever realize what if we all the dogs came from wolves, like how come there's so many variations? It's because when you domesticate a wolf and you take away its stress, that's what it turns into. You get a hot dog and a Dalmatian and a poodle. Poodles literally are wolves with no stress. Damn, that's crazy. Because once you remove adrenal glands and testosterone, which means adrenal glands is what turns on your adrenaline. Oh shit, it's popping. Oh, your adrenaline hits, it's on. And if that's always coming on and your testosterone is always firing, that means biologically your body is saying, hey, you got to get ready. Wherever you are, I got to make sure you're ready. So I got to give you what you need. I got to give you more muscles. I got to give you more attentiveness. I need to make your ears poke up strong so they can hear, because you need to be alive. So if you admire the beauty of a wolf, how beautiful it is, strong, what it does, the way it hunts, you also have to admire the stress that it's under to make it that way. Think about the pig farm, the pink farm pig. So we all hear stories about, we all know that pigs that are in a farm are pink, right? We all agree to that? You throw a pig in a wild for 2 months and go find that pig, it's covered full of hair and it has tusks. You know why? Adrenal glands and testosterone, it literally changes form to respond to the outside pressures. So that's not its form. That's its kick it form. I ain't got no problem form. That's my relaxation form. I can eat anytime I want form. I don't know I'm about to die and be at bacon form. But the real wild version of itself, the maximum version of itself, it needs stress, it needs adrenal glands, it needs testosterone. Next slide. So, go ahead.
What does that mean? We are the most out of shape we have ever been as a country. The lowest amounts of testosterone in men. The highest suicide rates in recorded history.
Okay, so as a country, this is where we stand. We've reduced and relieved and took away so much stress everywhere that we're the laziest nation, one of the laziest nations. 2022, 50,000 people committed suicide. Mental health. That's more people in 1 year in recorded history.
That's crazy.
No wars. No wars. Just mental health. We're the most out of shape we've ever been. That means we're chilling. We have things to take away our bullies. We have things to take away our stress. We can order our food. We got welfare. We got all kind of things that relieve that energy that forces us to chill. We can scroll and do anything. But what's the last line?
You have to resist the urge to remove all stress from your life. You need to create healthy stress.
So as leaders, this is a class to leaders and entrepreneurs. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to understand one thing. You got to put stress in your life, healthy stress. Stop running from stress. Run into it. We have to create healthy stress to keep you at the peak of who you can be. You have to. Your life depends on it. Your success depends on it. I know it's not the funnest thing to hear, but you have to if you want an entrepreneur. You have to. Because Entrepreneurship is stressful as hell. It's always coming at you. Things are always you always going to hear news that bring you down, bring you up. You have to learn that if you put healthy stress in your life, it prepares you for real stress. So, thing number 1, get to the gym. Get your ass to the gym. If you say, hey, I can't afford a gym or I don't have a gym, then move your body for 20 minutes till you sweat every day. Whether that's walking, brisk walking, walking fast, find you some stairs, but do something for 20 minutes that make you uncomfortable so your body has to respond and sweat. Got to get uncomfortable. Got to get uncomfortable. Because you're either growing or you're dying. It's a fact. You're either growing or you're dying. So if you don't put no stress on your body is like, shit, well, what the fuck am I here for then? Well, then I'll take that off. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop sending blood there. I'm going to loosen up those muscles because we don't need them. And then the moment you need them, you don't have them. Move your body 20 minutes a day. At minimum, walk on the treadmill. Walk fast on the treadmill. Or step outside and walk around your block. I don't care what it is. Move your body for 20 minutes minimum a day. That makes you uncomfortable. That gets you sweating. That sends signals to your brain that we got shit to do. And it's going down out here, and I need to be at my best. So your body starts doing the internal work to make sure that you're optimal, you at your best. No excuses. Now we passed the intro class stuff, and we passed the like, hey, how you guys doing stuff like this. Whoever's in this class now, you with the shit. So I'm not gonna talk to you like, hey buddy, come on, like you can do it. No, now you here. Get your ass to the gym. Because our success as a culture depends on it. Any questions on that before we move on to the next?
There was a question online, and the question was just, what do you mean by stress?
So if we go back to the slide, one slide. Okay. That's a good question because it makes me feel like I didn't drive the point home well enough. Mm-hmm. So the slide that says adrenal glands and testosterone. What are adrenal glands for? Adrenaline. When's the only time you have adrenaline? Is when you are fight, flight, or freeze. Mm-hmm. So if you aren't activating your fight, your flight, or your freeze on a daily basis, then you are not activating any kind of stress. Now, you're not activating stress. Okay? So there are healthy levels of stress and unhealthy levels of stress. Now, the extremely unhealthy levels of stress, most of us, we wouldn't be in this class if we experienced that. Maybe one or two of us, maybe a couple of us. But more than likely, you'd be in a room somewhere. But there's a good chance that most of us experienced high levels of stress. But we were so young that our bodies recovered fast enough and healed ourselves fast enough in the stages that we're in our youth that we were able to still grow and evolve even though we experienced that high level of stress. And that may be in the form of coming from a stressful environment. Maybe there was abuse in your household, anger issues in your household, whatever it was that caused you to be stressed But there's other forms of stress. Say you had to work when you were 14, 15 years old, and you had, or say you were the oldest child and you had to take care of all your siblings when you were very, very young. And now you had to worry about other siblings when you were 12. Those are levels of stress that are induced. Again, in my world basketball, it's a clear difference in kids who who lived with stressful environments and those ones who haven't. Because they just think they can get out there and just play how they want to play and at the pace they want to play. And you got kids who, West Oakland, Hood and East Oakland, who their mama told them, if you don't make it in basketball, we gonna stay poor. And you're like, I'm only 7 years old. So when that 7-year-old get out there on the court, he play with a vengeance, like his life depend on it, and he's killing them little kids. He's serving all them little kids. Why? Because he lives in stress. And he has the stress and the pressure of having to be good. It's a different game. You look like food to me out there. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we lose the game because we don't practice healthy stress at all, and we'll get ran over. So you don't that's the natural way that things happen. A lot of times the stress that you have grown up in is when you grow up and you've maneuvered through the stress and now you're a high performer, you may be like, damn, I had a fucked up childhood, but now you're fortunate because guess what? You run circles around your coworkers. Tell me I'm lying. You run circles around them. They're like, at the annual review, how do you handle stress so well? You get an A+ for handling stress. Man, do you know where I come from? This little corporate job don't stress me out one bit. That's because you're used to you're used to your adrenal glands and testosterone always having to fire because of whatever you've gone through. Now, how does the Steph Currys and the players who grew up with privilege and wealth, how do they perform at such a high level? Because they didn't grow up in a hood like Allen Iverson did with, sewer water in their living room. It's because their parents and the people around them knew how to put healthy levels of stress in their lives to make it feel the same. Healthy levels of stress. So like I said, going to the gym induces healthy levels of stress. Because guess what? If you're working out and you're doing a set, is the last rep supposed to be easy? Hell no, it's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to be stressed and it's supposed to be tough to do. What you don't realize that you're introducing healthy levels of stress in your life, in your body. So there's healthy ways, and then there's the ways that already happened to us. So that's why we can look at those things as superpowers now, especially when you can see the value that it adds. Go to the next slide. Again, another way of putting healthy levels of stress in your life is anything you do that has a positive effect that makes you uncomfortable. Anything you do. So think about that. Anything you do that has a positive long-term effect in your life that makes you uncomfortable in the moment. Anything that induces your fight, your flight, or your freeze. So if you don't like criticism, and somebody comes up to you and say, hey man, let me give you some, I don't like that thing. If you run from that and only have people around you who pat you on the back and tell you how dope you are, you're running from healthy stress, because that's healthy. Once you learn to get comfortable with criticism, you've just beat that level. Like there's a lifetime of things that you can do that can induce healthy levels of stress. It's never ending. And if you with the shit like us, you're always looking for those ways. And once you beat a level, I call it beating a level, meaning it doesn't feel stressful anymore. You're looking for the next one. One example, I start reading about cold ice baths and cold showers. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try that once. Years ago.
Amen.
I came to the realization that point that black people aren't designed for none of that cold shit. That ain't for us. That ain't for us. That ain't for us, right? That ain't for us. We tropical people. We like the sun, melanin, all that. It's just because the way it felt like needles were stabbing your body all over at the same time made me say, hell no. This is going to be at the bottom of my healthy stress list. Hold on, let me finish. However, the fact that I did that made me say, nah, hell no. One thing I'm a lot of things, but one thing I'm not is no punk. So the fact that that my body did that made me say, no, we doing this. Day 1, 3 seconds. All right, back to the warm. Day 2, 5 seconds. All right, back to the warm. Over time, I got to 2 minutes. 2 minutes and I'm good. I gotta find something else, cause the level's beaten. But you always have to be looking, especially if you're growing as an entrepreneur, especially if you're improving and life is starting to become easier for you in terms of revenue generation and your lifestyle, and now you can touch and grab and buy whatever you want. Anytime you get hungry, you can buy it. Once your revenue starts getting up there, I say past 300, 400, 500K, and once it gets to the millions, you can pretty much get what you want. That's when it's more important for you to always be looking at ways to create healthy stress for yourself. You got to. It's a must. But how you get to those points is by inducing it now, because guess what? Most of us are piled up by our fears, our laziness, lackadaisical nature, and the fact that our adrenal glands don't fire. Because we've set our lives up in a way that we don't really have to fight, run, or freeze too much. It's easy. Shit is easy. And now what'd you say? Oh, you're getting canceled, or don't shame me, or don't. It's even worse now. It's even worse now. So we as entrepreneurs, we don't play that shit. We call it what it is. We call it what it is. We keep it 100. Truth and absolute truth is our friend. We stay there. And we always find ways to make ourselves uncomfortable, to introduce healthy stress in our lives on a continuous basis. Because you always, your body doesn't, those adrenal glands, they don't have eyes, it feels. So you always have to make it think that it needs to continue to do more, get better, get bigger, get stronger. Do you feel me? Mm-hmm. Hey, the queen. Any other questions?
No.
Next slide. Now, story of South Africa. So here's another real example. In the late 1400s, there was a tribe in South Africa called the Khoisan people. Beautiful tribe of people. And the Dutch came and we were like, we gonna take this. We're gonna take this part of y'all land. You know what the Khoisan people said? No, we gonna whoop y'all ass. And that's what they did. And you talking about a tribe of black people just with arrows and shit, with people down there with boats and guns, and Khoisan people sent them packing back home. A few years later, they came back with better artillery, better guns, better fighters. Guess what happened? Khoisan people whooped that ass again. Damn. You know what they came back a third time. You know, guess what the Khoisan people did? Whip that ass a third time. 3 times. 3 times. Khoisan people, the thing is Denmark, came back and was like, no, we don't want to fight you. We don't want to fight you. We want to trade with you. We want to buy your skins and your cows and your milk and all your things. That's all we want to do. You know what Khoisan people said? All right, cool. So they traded with the Khoisan people. Khoisan people got rich. All the trades, they end up getting rich. So they made these Khoisan people wealthy. Those people waited 60 years of trading and making those people wealthy, the Khoisans. And guess what? They came with a boat, and they wasn't trying to buy no cows. They came with an army. Waited till they got comfortable and fat and cool and relaxed and took South Africa. It's mine now. Caught you slipping. That shit hurts to hear.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? That's why it's important that we always press the gas on making ourselves uncomfortable and introducing healthy stress, because that's how you get caught slipping. This is business. This is the wild. Country gone. What you gonna do? Nothing? Nothing. You gonna go to the gym now, 60 years later? You gonna train now? It's too late. So this entrepreneurship game is very close to the wild. So as an entrepreneur, if you don't think like that when you're not moving your body 20 minutes a day, you're moving with the purpose of, I have to stay ready. So I don't got to get ready. Hey, I ain't trying to be like sugar free, but sometimes sugar free is. You feel? Any questions on that? All right, next slide. All right, so we're gonna dive more into the 15 conscious commitments of conscious leadership book. So we're gonna pull from points from that book. So if you are not reading that book now, get in there, because these slides are not to give you the answers in the book. They are to help guide and lead us to deeper understanding of what's in there and what we've already read.
There's when can consistent exercise be a form of self-heroism?
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. Because to me, that is not to devalue your question. But a lot of times when there's a charge that we're going to go left, sometimes the flight in us will say, well, What if we go too much left? I don't think we'll get there. I don't think you'll get there because the benefits that you receive from working out and hitting the gym are going to they're going to go surpass so much value that the self-heroism, whatever that is, won't even be an issue. Because there's so many elements to that act of going to the gym. There's so many elements, psychological, it's scientific that it reduces stress. It's scientific. So the reason why we have a lot of mental health crisis going on in our country is because we don't move our body. So the act of burning calories and moving, it fires off your dopamine and serotonin and brings your serotonin levels to healthy places to where now you can think clear and you're more calm. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the fact that you're pushing your body to its limits, not the limits, just its limits, mm-hmm. which builds confidence in you. So if you can do one push-up today, I don't care. Because guess what? If you try one and you get to 1.5 tomorrow, your body and mind is going to say, I can still grow. I'm still capable of improving. And with that capability of improvement can bleed off in everything else I do. So I'd say what that is noise and self-talk that you want to ignore. I'll say at the end of the year, this is what my challenge to you is at the end of the year, if you still have that question, let's talk about it. But get in the gym at least 3 or 4 times a week. At least 4 times a week. We entrepreneurs. At least 4 times a week. I would say 5, but.
You know what's so crazy about that question? Is the assumption that who you are today will exist if you commit to a routine a year from now. It doesn't. Right? Like if you work on anything, if you read for a whole year consistently, the current you does not exist. So to even try to have that reflection at this stage is the assumption that everything that is today will continue to be a copy and paste a year from now, 2 years from now, after the commitment. And so it's kind of like we're trying to control the outcome when I think reason, if you look at Court's answer, what he's saying to you is it's an act of faith, right? Because faith is the perception that you can control the outcome. You can see the end results. Like there's no need for faith, right? But the reason faith is such a critical aspect of evolution or growth or development, like when you start a business, it's all faith. There's no such thing as I got an idea, the world's going to just part the sea for me.
Right.
You have an idea, and you're going to have to carve a space for that. And if you don't show up to that space, it'll never be provided for you. So, in all things, what I think one of my concerns about that question, I think we need more context, is what is the incentive motivation to try to interpret the long-term outcome? Because heroism is not even, that concept, like he said, doesn't even apply. Heroism is trying to save somebody or someone else. Even in saving yourself, I don't really know how that works like that. Maybe I need a better example. Because yes, we heroes. I mean, you're supposed to take care of yourself, eat well, sleep well, right? That's why you say if you eat healthy for the next year or two, was that another form of heroism? If I take care of my kids, is that another form of heroism? Right? So I think that I need context because that just doesn't. So what's the alternative? You flip that.
Yeah.
If you just take that question and flip the other side of it, then what you're suggesting is you should just go with the flow.
Sis, I don't know if you can hear us, but I'm going to put it in the chat too. If you can just give us some context around how you're seeing self-heroism and what you think an alternative could be, maybe that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also add this. Let's talk about heroism for just a brief moment. A lot of times heroism can be demonized. We're supposed to play the hero sometimes. Well, not supposed to. All humans go back and forth playing the hero and the victim all the time. That's in one of the books that we're reading. That's in a clear thinking book. That's in books we've read in the past. We go back and forth from playing hero and victim. So, being the hero in your story is part of your genetics. That's part of your survival, right? Especially in your story. So the antithesis of that is laying down and allowing yourself to be the victim and getting what you have Jason running behind you, and you just gonna be the one that flops and run and let them catch up to you. You gotta, like, we have to. If you grew up and you had to be, you had to grow up fast and take care of yourself fast, or you had to raise your family, or if you had to be the early matriarch or patriarch of your family, you had to go get money early, or you just had to survive. You're playing the hero in your story. Now that can get to toxic levels as well. But going to the gym, nah, play it. Like, do that. Go to the gym. Go to the gym. 4x at least, 5x for some. Sometimes we'll read these books or watch podcasts, and because of clickbait, they'll take these words that are popular in the moment, and to get views, they'll disagree with it just to make it popular. Mm-hmm. And so if we're not careful, we can get caught in that rhetoric. But I'd love to hear more context. Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question.
You want it now? You want it now?
Oh, you got it now?
Yeah.
Sure.
She said, context. So the context is, I have stepped up my workouts. I work out now consistently 6 days a week, but I feel like it's my crutch. So I'm not feeling as much as I used to, but now it sounds like working out is becoming a crutch somehow.
So you're in the gym 6 days a week, and you're entrepreneuring, and you live in, you got family and all kind of stuff. At a certain point, sometimes on the other end of the spectrum, you can, it's called a real scientific term. It's called doing too much. Sometimes you can do too much, right? But it all also depends on the context of your life. Mm-hmm. Because there are times when, if you have a particular goal or you got something going on, 6 days a week is okay. It's a push and pull depending on your body. Mm-hmm. It all depends on your rhythm and your patterns. So I wouldn't tell you to not work out 6 days a week, because I don't know the context of your life, your body, what you got going on. But I'll say this. Let's look at the patterns. Some people are the type to where they'll jump on something and they go 6 days a week for 2 weeks. And then, failure. They go super hard until it's one little thing, what we call it, little pebble in the road, and crash and burn, and then you quit. Make sure whatever that rhythm is, it's a consistent rhythm, because here's the difference. Working out in the gym is a lifestyle, and it's a lifestyle that you're going to want to lead for the next 30 or 40 plus years, because that is one of your tools for continuing to drive yourself forward. So whatever the rhythm is, make sure it's within the rhythm of the long game lifestyle that you're trying to lead. Now say Nana may work out 5 times a week and then go bike riding on a Saturday. That's 6. But if it's within the rhythm, and it's consistent, then who am I to say anything about that? Just make sure it's consistent. Next slide. So, as a leader, as you guys know, if you've been reading the book, you know that you can either lead above the line or below the line. Okay? You're either above the line leader or you're a below the line leader. Now, most of history, up until probably this century, has always taught leaders to be below the line.
That's true.
I've been reading some books lately because I love history. I love going back. Sometimes I can get nuggets in history that I can bring forward, but I'm reading some cold books, and it's about leadership and how to lead organizations and lead countries and lead factions, and most of it's below the line. All of it's below the line. So it's not, because it basically compounds on our nature. But there's also in history leaders that lead above the line. So if you're open, if you're curious, if you're committed to growing and learning, that's when you know you're above the line. If you're closed off, you're defensive, and you always got to be right, that's when you're below the line. And it's a line. It ain't no gray areas, no questions. There's no, well, is there a line inside the line? No. You're above the line or you're below the line. And what I also will go further to say is that it's not what you say you are, it's what the people who work with you and for you say you are.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, it's not what you say. Oh yeah, okay, I got this. I even got people that say, yeah, I'm gonna take a picture and send it to somebody that I know that could use this. No, motherfucker, you. It's not what you say you are. It's what the people who work with you and for you say about you. Are you really open? Let's get let's close the door and bring your people in and interview them and see what they think. That's how you know. So how you do it is you're always practicing the three on top. Curiosity. One way to know is instead of being curious, you're always accusing and making assumptions. I'm always accusing, making assumptions to people around me. Also, I don't want to hear it. I know the answer already. And I know I'm always right. I'm always right. Now, over time, if we go back, don't go back, but if we go back to the slides about the fight, flight, and freeze, most people who lead below the line have a unique and a curated group around them. And that unique and curated group only feeds them more below the line shit. Mm-hmm. So now there's pluses and minuses to both. Below the line leadership, you can get you can get to places faster, but you crash harder because your feedback loop is zero. You have no feedback loop. Above the line, you have a constant flow of feedback. So now you have eyes and ears everywhere that can help you see what you need to see in order to get where you want to go. So the way this book is structured, you're either above the line or below the line. Any questions on that? Microphone check, 1 2 1 2. Bang.
Magically appears. The question is what are strategies when working with people who are leading from below the line? When you've clearly recognized that a person has challenges in hearing feedback or receiving feedback and very defensive, but you got to push through this project, and you're recognizing that there's a limit to this particular type of leadership.
Good question. Really good question. And we're going to answer some of it throughout the class, but I'm going to start here. First thing is first thing you need is internal calm. Because a lot of times when people lead below the line, they'll say things that will trigger you. Right? So you can lose your cool. Man, you got me fucked up. What did he just say? What? Now your fight, flight, and freeze is kicked in, and the higher level of consciousness that you have to even be able to manage this situation is gone. So calm is number one. Number two, these people are easily manipulated. You know why? Because they live below the line so much that their feedback loop is trash. So all they hear is this. They only want people around that does this. So if you challenge them, or if you buck up against them or revolt against them, you shut them down. Knowing that information, you got tools to manipulate now. You can feed them, you can maneuver, you can nudge them, you can push them over to get what you want. So the question you got to ask yourself, which is actually number 3, is what is my intention? Is my intention to be right, to get my point across, to fight back, to protect myself, to defend myself against this bullshit, this bully, or to win? And there's different strategies for all different questions. So if the answer to the question is to win, then you formulate a strategy, and it doesn't have to be tit for tat. You're not gonna win. You can't win a game like that. Jordan had this customer, man. I will give more details, but I'm live, so you dig. But Jordan had this customer, pain in the neck. Pain in the neck. So entitled, arrogant. I need the world to know that I'm the shit. I've built this successful X, Y, and Z. You know, I can give you some pointers if you want.
Oof.
You know what I'm talking about. So Jordan's getting flustered back there, and I can hear it because I'm like, man, this one's tough. And I hear him. And he's on the phone back and forth with her, and she's going off about some minute dumb shit. And he's like, you know what? That's an assumption. And I'm like, no, Jordan, no, don't say that.
I love you.
Oh, I love you for that.
He was like,
Using the
"Back up."
class. And I wasn't even, she wasn't even on speakerphone. But when he said, that's an assumption, it sounded like speakerphone. She was screaming so loud. I'm like, don't trip. Just bring her in here. Bring him in here. Once we got in, he's like, I'm gonna bring Cord in. He's gonna come. And I sat down and I let him brag. Go ahead. Oh, really? You did that? Wow, dope. Tell me more. And yeah, you know, I could teach you some things. Well, yeah, teach me some things. And I let him get it all out. It's like when Caesar, the dog whisperer, takes a pit bull and just puts him on a bike and runs with him. Just let them, they get all that anxiety, that energy, that anger energy out. Now, once you see the tail wagging, they tired, now we can talk. Now we can have a real conversation. I fed your ego, got it all out. Sure, man, I learned some shit. Now we gonna get to the bag, and I'm gonna tear that ass up. Wait, I'm gonna successfully get the deal.
I didn't say nothing, bro. I didn't say nothing.
Let's get to the bag now. Let's get to the bag now. I don't got no ego in the game. I don't feel, you ain't gonna make me feel no kind of way after this. No, my goal is to win. Because the more I win, the more black people I get to hire. The more black people I get to hire, the bigger my purpose gets fulfilled. Like that's all I care about. So you got to ask yourself that question. The connotation of even the question, it shows that most of the work we have to do is ourselves, right? It's like, all right, as soon as I can get bigger than this person's ego, then I can corral this person and maneuver and manipulate however I need to. But we'll continue answering because that's a dope question. Next slide.
Below the line is actually our normal state. According to Dan Goleman in his 1995 book, Emotional Intelligence, we are constantly scanning our environment looking for threats. To be precise, the amygdala, an almond-shaped part of the limbic brain, is standing guard, something like an emotional sentinel, challenging every situation, every perception, but with one kind of question in mind, the most primitive. Is this something I hate? That hurts me? Something I fear? If so, if the moment at hand somehow draws a yes, the amygdala reacts instantaneously, like a neural tripwire, telegraphing a message of crisis to all parts of the brain. When the amygdala senses a threat, it sounds an alarm, and our entire system prepares for survival.
So this right here is what we got to work with in our bodies. That's what we got to work with. So this is what we also have to work around in our journey as entrepreneurs. But knowing this is half the battle, right? It's knowing it. We know that that's going to happen. So sometimes they say awareness by itself is curative, which means knowing that can allow you to counteract it, to counterbalance it, to go around it. So if you are feeling bad or feeling guilty or upset at any moment, thinking that, damn, like, why do I keep tripping every time? Why do I keep flashing? Why do I keep feeling this feeling here? What you're feeling is hundreds of thousands of years of evolution in you. So it's normal. Again, as entrepreneurs, we got to play a bigger game. So we have to find a way to supersede that part of ourselves in order to get to where we want to go.
Can I just add one thing they left out?
Yep.
Because like you, I'm studying a lot of historical business books lately, and studying a book from Chris Rigorous. He's a Harvard professor who had 13 degrees. Who 13, bruh? I didn't even pass 13 tests. Anyway, point. So 13 degrees, and there's one more you would add to that: embarrassment. It triggers the same thing. If you and this is important because he's laying the foundation for really complex strategy, and we're going to continue to build it. But I'm going to actually at some point show you how it shows up in groups, businesses, and how a business dies on a vine. But if you add everything you just read there, you need to like take time and really study because he's teaching you strategy now. I know you guys think it's psychology. This is pure human strategy, business strategy. But if you add embarrassment to those two sentences, fears and if we feel embarrassed as human beings, we shut shit down.
So real. If you ever got embarrassed by somebody, the way you come for them is something else.
Okay, just you'll be all right.
Right. Like it's true. It's true. Next slide.
My favorite.
Let's talk about it.
Context versus content. This is the master key to true empathy. Once you shift your listening in a way that echoes the meaning behind the words, it allows you to show up to other people in special ways. The other person feels more than heard. They feel understood by you.
Now, if you can read between these lines, you can also understand that this is powerful on so many levels, not just business. Not just business. Have you ever failed for somebody because you're like, they just get me? They just get me. You got. Because what was happening was that person was really keen on context over content. Meaning what you say is different in a lot of ways than what you mean. and you have two languages going out at the same time when you're speaking. You got two languages, what you're saying and what you're meaning. And a lot of times those two are not in sync with each other. So what people instinctively love about others is a person's ability to understand that other language. Have you ever, like, I'm not singling out the ladies, okay? Please don't cancel me. Don't, please. But maybe it was just me. When women will want something, they'll ask for something, and you give it to them, and they say, I didn't want that. I wanted you to know what I meant by that. I wanted you to know what I meant. You're supposed to know that that's not what I wanted, but I really wanted that. No, nobody in the room.
Huh?
I'm kind of right. Okay. That's what you're actually saying is, I want you to be a better reader of content. I mean, context over content. Okay, if you ain't feeling me, here's a quick example.
He like, I
Pop
got
your collar, bro. Pop
receipts.
your collar.
I got receipts. Y'all need to
Because it sounds like I need receipts. Hey, you good? I'm fine.
Oh no, that's not real.
Well, see, you just did it right there.
I'm fine.
Not fine.
You sure? I'm fine. You
No.
sure nothing bothering you? I said I'm fine.
No. Not fine.
Clearly, she's not fine, right? Clearly. Why? Because the other language was saying, no, shit is bad right now. But most of us is like, well, she says she's fine, so we're moving on.
Yeah.
And you getting cussed out by the end of the night. And you're like, what did I do? You said you was fine. What they're saying is you were supposed to be a better reader of context over content. We do it too. How was your day? It was cool. It was cool. You know what it was cool meant? Hey, can you leave me the fuck alone for like 3 hours? I just need to be by myself.
It meant all that. Good God.
Don't share all of our secrets, bro. You'll get this.
Please, just, I don't want to talk about nothing I've been through. I just need space to myself. That's what it was cool meant. Well, what? Let me do this for you. Let me do that for you. Let me do that for you. Let me do. And that don't feel good. It feel like chalk going down the chalkboard, right? Going the other way. Because we want you to be a better reader of context over content. So, how does this apply in business? That's why I say there's so many layers of dopeness with this. How does this apply in business? If you say to your customers, how did you like the product? It was cool. What did you like about it? It was cool. When customers give you feedback, when customers are communicating with you, when you're selling to customers, the most important thing you can do in sales is know this game. If you don't know this game in sales, you're going to get whooped. Because you're listening for customers' pain points, and customers are not necessarily going to always tell you their pain points through their words. They're gonna kind of lead you down the path of that with certain things they say, the way they say it, mannerisms, their pauses, the deep breaths, the disagreements with you. You gotta learn this game. It's a more complicated game than what we just talked about between men and women, but it's the same game. But you got to expand your skill set to be that good. So if we have situations where we have customers that we asked about their experience and they said it was cool. We don't like that. We don't like that. Something is wrong. And you know what? when we dig in and we call and we get them all loosened up and comfortable and try to get down to the truth, they say, well, actually, there was a couple things that wasn't right, but you guys been taking care of us for so long, I didn't want to make it a big deal. There it is, right there. Mm-hmm. Nah, bro, that's not how we get down. Like, we gonna fix this. This is important. This is important. We have strategies in our sales team to talk to customers. Well, are you happy with your current? Yeah, I love them. They're great. You love them? They're great? Cool, yeah. Well, what things could you improve if you wanted to? I know they're great. But what things could you improve? Well, they could be on time more. They could do this. They'll start spilling that shit out. Cool. Understanding the game of context versus content will change your business. Change your business. Context sometimes is words unspoken. If you got product and you handing out free samples and don't nobody want none, that's content. That's some content. If you're handing out free samples and nobody's coming back for seconds, that's content. If you do a deal with the person and they don't come back, that's content. If you do a deal with the person and they don't refer another person, that's content. There's so much content game that you can absorb from every situation. If you give product away and they don't wear it, that's content. I'm dead serious. If I have a clothing brand and I'm wearing my clothing brand and on certain occasions people don't ask me about it, that's content. Something wrong. I'm gonna throw it in the trash. It's time to design something doper. Mm-hmm. It's not what people say. 80% of communication is nonverbal anyway. Nonverbal. So we got to get good at nonverbal cues. And for all of our people that's slightly autistic or on the spectrum out there, which me might be included too, is you got to get good. You got to practice this. You got to watch. You got to eye contact. You got to look at body language. You got to really get good at listening. And then goes back to above the line. Curiosity means you ask questions. You're asking questions. Any questions on content versus context? This is big shark shit. Any questions on that? Good?
Can I just add real quick, even in your listening, can you hear the context when people talk to you as opposed to just hear the content? 'Cause a lot of times when we share information, especially amongst groups, we're just transferring content and context gets lost. And then what we do is we end up imposing our own context over the contents that happens to run across our desk. And so even a lot of times your anger and your frustration, like if somebody confronts you right now, right? Or somebody says something that like irritates you, or you perceive somebody saying something racist. If you gain context, everything changes. And so can you learn to like seek context in all your listening, all your strategical, rigorous thinking? If you don't own enough context, know that your rigorous thinking is shallow. Like context is really not just an observation of customers and interactions, but how you even just analyze. Like when you'll say something like, for example, oh, black people don't like this. There's no context in that. What do you mean black people don't know? I don't know what that means. So if you ever hear me use a phrase, I say this a lot with people who's close to me, I don't know what that means, which means you giving me no context and I can go multiple directions with context. So your content means nothing to me. So can you give me some context so I know how to even process what you just said to me so I can even put this into my hypothesis equation? Mm-hmm. So if you're walking around and you're not listening for context, you're probably comfortable satisfying simple answers, which is hitting a shallow level where you do just enough to patch a problem. You never solve problems, because in order to solve a problem, you have to own so much context to engage in rigorous thinking. You cannot do it without rich context.
Love it. Jordan.
If you have the job of distributing information amongst a group, how do you pass context to the group without the emotion attached to it?
Can you give me more context? Like in what detail?
So like, for instance, we deal with a lot of customers. So if I'm dealing with the stress of the customer, the anger of the customer, how do I pass that to the team without giving that emotion off?
Well, you don't have to. Yeah, the goal definitely is not to pass the emotion or the anger to the team, because that's useless, right? It's asking the question, what is the goal here? First off, what's the goal? Is the goal is to solve the customer's problem. So the customer's problem can be solved in a relatively quick fashion once you lose the emotion and spend 20% on the problem and the rest on the solution. So it's easy to count, because I know we're in the same, we work together. So if you say, hey, the customer doesn't know where his product is and they're pissed and they're like, where's our product? Then you can remove all the emotion out of it and say, what's the problem? We're 2 days late on the customer's product. What's the solution? Solution number one, tell customer X, Y, and Z, communication to the customer, and production, you find out when we can get the customer his product and you communicate that to him. I think what a lot of times will get lost is we activate everyone's fight, flight, or freeze when you say, the customer's angry, he's mad. So everybody on the team, their guilt, their fault, their emotions, activate in that moment. It's like, was it me? Was it my fault? So everybody freezes up, tenses up, or they're ready to fight. Like literally, I know who's the fighters, the runners, or the freezers. Because there'll be three people with deer in the headlights looking at me, and then it'll be three people arguing, ready to defend whatever they did wrong. So the goal is, let's not activate that. Let's get to what's the core of the problem, and let's come up with ideas on solutions, void of all the emotions.
Can I just say what you just said again? Okay, you guys I promise you, I get paid a lot of money to do this stuff. Court is firing off so many warning shots. If a customer comes to you and complain, what mindset are you in? Are you offensive or defensive? More than likely, with most of our culture, we're defensive by default. Especially a culture who's been fighting suppression, economic suppression for generations, is baked in. So if you're defensive, you're just as much as a problem as a customer who's attacking you. So if you don't know how to, what Cord just highlighted, if you don't know how to shift to an offensive, see, a defensive thinker starts all their analysis from a defensive space. They don't start from an offensive space. So it's like, how do I protect myself? How to protect the team? How to protect? So you're doing all this, right? So then when you go to the team, because you're a defensive thinker, you're going to talk defensive tones to your team and spread the disease or trigger the team members to be like, and now everybody we don't like that customer, right? Shifting your mindset, especially if you're the front line, how do you get to an offensive mindset where something comes in and your brain goes into well, how do we move this forward? How do we fix this situation? How do we address this? How do we show empathy for the person so they can blow off that steam because we need to move here? That's a whole different space. But if you start to say, oh, here go another bad customer, you're part of the problem.
Trill talk.
That's why shit's tight, what you're saying.
It's a cold game. Yeah. Cold game. Ashley.
It's not so much of a question, but more of a comment. I think it's something to also highlight out of that context can get mistranslated when you're dealing with a customer via email versus picking up the phone or talking to them in person. Because there's so many things that the client doesn't get. There's so many things that the client isn't communicating or that you can't see or hear when you're going back and forth via email versus picking up a phone or having that conversation in person. So that, what I've been learning is that I've been able to become more aware and raise my empathy just by having a face-to-face conversation versus doing the whole back and forth via email. You lose a lot of time and money and attention doing that.
Man, all of that. I don't like email. I don't like to do emails or texts. I get on the phone with my customers unless it's something stupid or basic, because I want to communicate. I want to see their energy. They not looking me in my eye. They looking off. That's something. Like I want to see, are they fidgety? Like how they negotiate? That's energy being transferred back and forth. I want to see it, and I want to hear it, and I want to learn the context. So much can be learned in that.
Lean into that, bro, because I think a lot of young people,
was-
that's how they communicate. Lean into it.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say who, but I got a few employees that we go hard. They're not in this room, but they go hard, and I get on them. Yo, pick up the phone and call them. And sometimes I got couple of my employees, they love to go back and forth with email and text. And they get into this conundrum of confusion. And what we'll do is go on speakerphone right there, call them, and solve it in 15 seconds. In this generation, like we everything is text in email now, which is tough. But what you lose, you think you gain, but what you lose is context. You lose context, which means you lose 80% of the language that can help you win and solve the problem. So that was an excellent point. Excellent point.
I mean, but also you can say, going back to your point about friction, your fear of friction makes you comfortable using text and email, right? Then what end up happening, because you're a defensive thinker, you project. So let's say I write to you and say, you're supposed to take care of me, and I don't understand why your service is so bad, right? Which is not, it's a lot of stuff can be good just if you say that in person. But I text an email to you, but you're the business, and you respond, I'm offended by what you said, right? Or please do not speak to me that way, or whatever you say, right? Now we're lost. Now we're just throwing content over the fence, and no one has any content. And you call the person on the phone, they be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was talking to my daughter when I sent you the email. I didn't realize or I was writing and I was walking and texting and wasn't really paying attention to the way I was writing it up. And autocorrect kind of removed a couple of words that made it sound a lot harsher.
Yeah.
And you already taking off. You brewing in your house like, ooh, I can't wait, right? And it's like." You've lost context, and that's why, going back to this, is that, but what really, the two things that hit you hard before you even got to this space was fear, right? Fear of somebody just, confronting you, telling you no, or whatever your deeper fears are, fear of confrontation. And then your defensive thinking took everything heard that you felt was defensive and started building all of your strategical war moves to get ready for battle. And you're destroying customers and relationships.
And I'm going to show you an example after Morpheus' question. Go ahead. I'm going to show you an example.
So I'm gonna try to make this very quick. So first of all, I agree with what you guys are saying, right? But I'm in a tech industry, and that's literally how everyone communicates, through text. This is the society that we're in, right? Where everyone just wants to be keyboard warriors, and they can say what they feel, how they feel, and my approach is always to pick up the phone and contact them and be like, okay, let's figure this out. I've been very successful when I am able to get in contact with them, because then we are able to add context to the content that they were actually trying to display, right? And let me make one thing very clear. I use ChatGPT. We can't cuss, right? I use ChatGPT on everything that I pretty much say, because my initial thoughts, I let ChatGPT, I tell her what I need or him to do, and then they regurgitate it. But how do you handle those situations when the component that they're going to only use is going to be text?
So in critical points, in critical moments, in situations where I need context, I respond back in whatever their preferred method and say, yeah, that sounds good. I'd love to get on the phone with you and go over some details, because there's some details that I want to go over. So I always lead them back to a phone call. I lead them back to a phone call. You will lose so many critical components if you don't. And here's why. Here's the example I wanted to show you. So think about the word, I didn't say that, right? I didn't say that, right? Now, I didn't say that. What does that mean? It means I didn't say it, but somebody else did. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. See what I'm saying? How about this? I didn't say that to her. I didn't say that to her. Meaning I said it, but I didn't say it to her. I didn't say it to her. See how that one little "to" changed the whole thing? So why the hell would you guys let your money, big deals, big opportunities hinge on a fucking text or an email when it's so critical that even a "to" can change, and you reading that and it could piss somebody off? Have you ever listened to a song about breaking up when you just broke up? You crying and singing, that song touches your soul, right? But have you ever, all the words are just speaking to you. But if you ever were in a happy relationship and you listen to that same song, have you ever listened to it? It means nothing to you. Because the context has changed. So when we talking money, we talking big deals, big opportunities, really ways to solidify and seal in our customers, make them long game customers, make them come back next year or next week. You got to get on the phone and get that context. Got to. However you got to do it. Lead them to, hey, that was good, but I have a couple more questions that I need to answer over the phone. Can we just get a call, quick call, 5 minutes? Quick call, 5 minutes. Should only take a few minutes of your time. This is money, dog. This money. This is the difference. We've lost deals from that. What? That was disrespectful. No, it was I was trying to be nice. You understand? So, last question. And we're gonna get out of here.
It's not really a question, but to what you were saying, I've also learned that if I just respond and say, do you have time for a real quick chat?
Yes.
And they can't respond after that. Of course, they're going to say, yeah, like in 10 minutes. They're not going to come back with another question. So that was like one of the tools that I used to get people on phone. But I was thinking about what Jordan was asking. And what I'm learning is like, no matter what the situation is in terms of if I made a mistake or there's a miscommunication, it's fun because it's an opportunity for me to win fans. There's two outcomes. Either I made the mistake or there's a miscommunication with them. But how I handle it, how I show up, how I respond is going to make them a fan of me. And so now it's like a game. And then when I realize like none of this has anything to do with me, especially if they're like yelling and cussing, it has nothing to do with me. But if I can impress you as my customer, and as we always talk about, like lead with empathy or, you know, just kind of disarm you, you're a fan now. So I just kind of approach it as a game.
Dope. That also doubles down on your question. That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. So we're going to take a brief intermission, and you're going to keep getting more of that game.
Already? Already?
Right.
Oh, man. Okay, go to the donation. Donation slide, yeah.
We're going to talk about the 4 types of leadership next week, though.
Cool. You was into it, right? Like,
Well, since I got the microphone, I'm gonna say this real quick. First of all, before we get there, once again, just want to remind folks, if you have an opportunity, please donate. Like I said, the class is free this year, but the reason we give away this class free is because I feel like this class is really breaking ground in different kind of conversations that are not happening, that we need to have as a community, that we need to have as early entrepreneurs who wish to get in this game. You know, what's crazy to me is sometimes I think we're still in this space where we're still looking for skills in the entrepreneur world, and that's not how it works. So skills is like, okay, if I'm doing this job, I do 1, 2, 1, 2. And you don't realize that, for example, if you come to me right now and say, Nana, I have this problem, what should I do? When I give you advice, it's never one step. It might be 10 steps, 20 steps, 30 steps, 100 steps. But if you don't have the mindset, you won't make it past the third step, often falling short on even the advice I provide for you. Also, if I provide you advice and you don't have ownership of the thinking that the advice comes from, it's like if somebody gave you a recipe to a complex meal over the phone and you don't cook. I don't care what they say on that phone, you still about to produce trash, right? Now, if it's just like, put the eggs in the water and boil it, you may be able to pull that off. But even there's some challenges there, right? Because how long do you boil it? Once the eggs come out and you're trying to peel the eggs and it's starting to break in half and you just like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to need to buy me some boiled eggs somewhere else, right? So you'll find that even in the most simplest ideas, there's so many levels of choice, insights, and way of thinking that's necessary to achieve goals. And so this year, we're giving away the class for free so you can really impact that form of thinking. And so, there's a link below. Make sure you click on that link below. Also, if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And third, share with your friends. Let's just start to shake the foundation of conversations you're having. Let's raise the level of the dialogue. We're in an age right now that we're talking about AI can impact us. I don't think we haven't gotten past social media impact yet, and how social media is becoming the virtual herd that's delivering us a very superficial message. And so a lot of our conversations are really shallow and they're not deep enough, right, as far as the dialogue. And so please donate so we can continue to give this class away for free. This is a 1-year experiment, and if it doesn't work, we'll go back to the other way we used to do it. But and like I said, the Hope alumni, we ride together, so we're going to be okay. So let's hit the next slide. Let me say this real quick. So I share a private conversation. She always hates me when I say this, but me and Shakina had a cool conversation about press secretary, and she had a chance to really digest what that is. And she gamified it. She literally gamified it and started calling herself out every time her press secretary took over. She called me the other day. She was like, yo, at least 10 or 20 times. It just kept popping up, and she just gamified it. And she said the key thing I think that was really dope about what she said was, as she started to see the press secretary, and then there's another thing I'm going to teach at the end of this class that's going to roll into the next class. As she started to see those characteristics, what she was able to discover in that process as press secretary was, she said it was very empowering for her. Because for the first time, she saw how her autopilot was having a different conversation than her subconscious, right? Y'all remember a class, I think anybody was here last year, I had told Fern, you need to be more serious. And I didn't really elaborate, but that sounded like big brother going, you need to quit playing, right? And some of you guys may have shrunk that statement to, quit being, she's going to work and she's just being silly. That's not what I was suggesting. As we know that most of the time as human beings, most of our time we spend in autopilot mode. Hey, what's happening? How you doing? Good. Right? And our autopilot is easily triggered to have a separate conversation from who we really are as a person. How are things going? I'm doing great. Right? And a lot of times, in order for you to have a consistency with your personal brand, meaning that the way you show up, people see you, they understand you. You built a reputation for being a certain kind of person. People created expectations on how you show up. People have trust in your brand. There has to be a consistency between your autopilot and your subconscious. That means that you have to slow down and reflect more about everything you do all day long. You literally have to sit in a space and go, okay, like say you saw Court walking down the street, and you're like, hey, what's up, Court? You have a conversation. When you walk away, you're thinking about, what did I say? Well, why did I say that? Is that really true? How do I really feel about that? Let's say you're out and about and you're sitting around. You're in observation mode. You're watching everybody around you, right? And you're watching yourself watch everybody around you. And in that space, you become more self-aware of how you're showing up. And guess what that makes you? Serious. Because when you're around people, it's not that you're not a party pooper. You have fun like everybody else. You enjoy the world just like everybody else. You laugh like everybody else. But you also disengage and in deeper observation than most people around you. Because you're trying to learn more about yourself. A lot of times when we're in this, hey, how you doing? And shaking hands, getting high fives, we don't realize how the world sees us because we can't see ourselves. So the reason you want to become more serious as an entrepreneur is because you want to be an observation of like, how are you showing up in spaces, how others are showing up in spaces, what's your relationship to others in certain spaces, and that'll give you deeper insights on your personal brand and your consistency. So getting to personal brand, as we talked about last week, the press secretary. So Yapasua came to me at the end of class last week and he said, let me ask you a question. You asked the question in last class. And this is a dope separation of his autopilot from his subconscious mind. So he says, you asked the question, you said, who's a good driver? And a lot of people raised their hand. I said, who's better than most? Most people raised their hand. And I said, Japasua, that was all press. That's just your press secretary answering those questions. He says, no, but I'm still a good driver. The press secretary, because when you're in your autopilot space, it is manipulating you to manipulate others. You're not aware that you're telling a lie. So you're telling a lie, that's different. Your brain is manipulating you to manipulate others to raise your value amongst others. So what the press secretary does is it jumps in the middle and it changes the answer for you to provide to somebody else with confidence. So it's not like, okay. So even when I said to him 2 or 3 times, no, it's not possible. Why is it not possible? You see how his brain is positioned? He sat through the whole class, gave the full description of the press secretary, and when we had a private conversation right after class, his press secretary came in and said, no, you have to be one of the better drivers amongst most. Where's that data? Who watches you 24/7 every time you get in the car and tell you every time you get in the car how perfect your driving was? But your brain said, when I'm confronted, I don't give a shit about that data. I'm Yapasul, baby. I'm the best there is. Yes, baby. And his brain, when I said, hey, listen, that's not possible, his brain says, who is he to tell you that's not possible? You know who you are. Am I lying, Yapasul? That's how it works that fast. It is such a split. It's so fast, and it manipulates you so quick because once again, it is manipulating you to manipulate others to raise your value in the herd. Now, so Shakina asked a question. She said, no. How do I really suppress or have access to my press secretary? I said, well, you can improve your access. But the ultimate solution is you can't see your press secretary, and I can't see my press secretary, but I can see yours and you can see mine. Mm-hmm. So you can't see your own, but your circle can see it. Now, if you manipulate your circle just to be yes people, then they're not even providing you the feedback to help you fight your own self-manipulation. Guys, get that so far? Anybody lost, just say, hey, man, what the fuck you just say? Go ahead. Go ahead. Give him a microphone. Josh, I told you.
So there was two parts of that I wanted to kind of get some better context on. The first part was, this was a word that we used earlier, this word of manipulation, and how it can be beneficial when you're dealing with, customers, clients, in certain aspects. But then you're using this word manipulation in kind of what sounded like a more negative context. So I kind of wanted to get a little bit of insight on that. And then the other part is when I was going through the material regarding the press secretary, and it did it. Maybe I missed a part, but it also didn't say that it was necessarily a bad thing.
No, it is a bad thing if you're trying to build. People do it all the time. It's kind of part of what we do. It's like it's hard to catch a 90%. If I say, "How you doing?" "I'm doing great." You been in corporate America before? You walk down the hallway. "How you doing? How you doing?" "Great, great, great." Right? That's press secretary talking to everybody, right? What can I build with that? What can I do with that? Who am I looking at? Right? And as you're being, and here's the thing too, which I'm gonna get into in a minute. I'm gonna answer that question thoroughly in a second. Two is your first question, which is manipulation. It's when you're being manipulated and you're losing control. It's a control aspect to manipulation, right? If I'm manipulating something that I'm controlling and I'm manipulating it for a certain outcome, that's one thing, right? You're always manipulating a certain, but if you're in a space where you're not even being aware that you're being manipulated and you have confidence that you actually are seeing the truth, telling the truth, feeling the truth, in alignment with the truth, and you're far from the truth, right? That means that a lot of your hard work will be in vain. Because down the years, I worked hard on this idea and I knew it was the truth and I committed myself to it. And at the end of the day, it was a bad idea that you never were able to switch from or pivot from because the press secretary convinced you over through compounding, distortion, it's actual factual. Other thing too is that you won't realize that what you say and what you do is splitting. So you would tell people, "I did this, I know this, I'm this," and they look at you and go, "I don't know how the fuck you think that." Because your press secretary is going to escape reality. It's going to get to the space where it starts to overpromise, exaggerate stories in the past, define you greater than you really are. And then one day you look and say, how come nobody's here for me? Your press secretary told everybody you was amazing. Like you just convinced us you're great. So this press secretary who says, so what I'm trying to explain to you is that a lot of times we're designing, our autopilot brain is designing a reality different than the reality we're trying to build. If you're not trying to build anything, you're in Jamaica chilling on the beach, and me and you on the beach, we ain't trying to build nothing. Man, you can lie all you want, I'm gonna lie to you too. Like, we're gonna have a good time. But if we're trying to build something, we need clarity. If I say, "Are you good at this?" I can do anything. Really? I had a young man tell me recently he's excellent in market research and he's excellent in strategy. And when we started having a conversation with strategy, he had no insights on what is strategy. But he wasn't lying to me. See, that's the difference. And which is gonna get into like the emotional space you have to hold for you to, when you're building an organization, you got to create a certain type of emotional space to allow press secretaries to express itself and not shame the individual. Because if you shame the individual, you turn your personal manipulation into, for example, okay, let's say you said to me, "Man, when I was younger, dude, I was killing in basketball. I was one of the best at Castlemont." I'm like, "Dude, you nobody even picked you, right? Like, we never picked you, bruh, because y'all was hating on me, right?" Well, where was I going with this? Because that was so funny to me. I was like, damn, cats really be saying that kind of shit. Yeah, okay, so let's say you say that, right? And then me and Shakina stepped aside, like, "You always lying." See what I just did to you? You were manipulated by your brain to think you were really good because you really believe it. Instead of us showing up to you and saying, "Hey, man, how do you know that's true?" And you go, "Oh, shit, maybe I wasn't," right? But instead, we attack you for it by like, "Here we go lying again." You're not lying. You're distorted. It's a big difference. Because if you're working with a group of people, like you're managing a team, all your members are dealing with distortions. But if you're going in there with the right versus wrong, good versus bad, liar, identifying you made a mistake, you're inconsistent, I don't trust you no more, and their brain is automatically doing those things, then you're poorly labeling, and then you're developing poor management skills because you can't see, oh, that's just their press secretary. You get where I'm going with that? Let's hit the next slide. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm still gamifying my experience. It's actually been fun because I'm homeschooling my daughter. So it's giving me the opportunity to see myself, which is helping me see her and show up more. I think in my brain, the thing that helped me clarify this the most was something that Nana has been saying to me for about a year, which is that I play too much in the space of bargaining with reality and that separation. Like, though I think last year they gave us the 15, the Conscious Leadership book, they gave it to us last year, but I didn't start digging into it until this year. And that statement made more sense as we started talking about the press secretary, because I didn't really understand what he meant by bargaining with reality until I was like, oh, I'm not being distrustful or trying to mislead people. My brain really convinced me whole time 100% that this is reality. And so when I started questioning the motives of that, which is protection, safety, feeling competent, then I was able to not bully myself for that detachment from reality. And trying to get closer and closer to what's real as opposed to what my brain wants to assume is more comfortable in reality.
So remember I said your press secretary has more volume based upon how you feel about yourself. The less you feel good about yourself, the more active your press secretary is. Okay, the black community suffers from economic suppression for so long that it is almost to a really high level. As a community, we really don't feel like we're good enough, right? That means you live in a sea where everybody's manipulating everybody, but no one knows they're manipulating everybody. Just think about that for a second. Everybody's walking around running game on each other, but no one knows they're manipulating everybody. So even you're doing it. And yet then when you get into the world with entrepreneurs, you sit in front of an investor. This is when press secretary gets smashed on. If you ever get in front of an investor and your press secretary is talking, which most time it is, investors literally go, I don't give a shit about nothing you just said. I don't want to talk to you no more. Bye. After your full presentation, your business plan, you're like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I got this. Press secretary is just making this whole story, wrote up a whole map of where they want to go, how they're going to get there, what they require, why they're qualified to do it, why everybody loves what they're doing, all this stuff. And what a person who's trained on how to hear press secretaries just say, yeah, no. Like literally, it's just gonna be like, it's so harsh. And I don't know if you've ever been in front of an investor before. It hurts. Because if you get in front of an investor and that press secretary, which it does, because when you're often in front of press secretary, you're triggered to say, am I good enough to get this money? So your brain is going to start exaggerating all kind of communication as you're trying to present your product to a possible investor or a partner or a vendor, to a point that vendor, because of the experience they have, realize you said nothing to me. There's no value here. And when they dismiss you, your press secretary is gonna tell you, oh, they dismissed me because I was black. They hating on brothers from Oakland. All this shit, when it's really you was in that space in a make-believe state. The investor is absolutely clear because their money's on the table, and then your brain takes you to this other space. So now you hate business because you feel like they don't really work with black people out here, which is not true. It's really your brain protecting you from not feeling like you're good enough.
That's it right there.
Is that some shit cold? Like when it starts to play out and you unfold it and it starts to become moving amongst people, you realize, oh shit, how many times have I destroyed relationships because I assumed you thought something about me, but it's because the way I was showing up, I couldn't even see it. And when you decide, my sister-in-law is a dope-ass jazz player. She plays the bass, stand-up bass. And she said, Nana, I realized that when I was first started my career, I was running to all these people to mentor me, and they wouldn't fuck with me. Now she's way up there, but they wouldn't give her no time of day. And she says, now that I'm older, I realized I wasn't qualified to even be in their face. But her press secretary at that time say, oh no, you owe me. You should be talking to me because I'm this, I'm that, I achieved this, I know I'm that. Didn't really weigh out the real facts. Don't care about the real facts. Even when they read the real facts, it kind of like goes in one ear out the other ear. Because the press secretary is like, no, you don't need to read all that shit. You know who the fuck you are. It's that cold. It's literally have you walking around because it's manipulating you to make you feel good. It doesn't care about you achieving your goal. As long as you feel good, you winning. All right, we ready? Let's do it.
It doesn't even have to be all that plausible, just plausible enough to keep alive the idea of my excellence.
So your ideas of who you are doesn't have to be factual. It doesn't have to be complete. Well, it has to be something there, but it doesn't have to be accurate. Your assessment of self. If you play basketball, your brain will say, I'm one of the best basketball players in Oakland when I was coming up. Did you play with everybody in Oakland? No. Right? But in your brain, yeah. I'm better than most. Who are these most that you've interacted with? Because the only people I've ever seen in your life was about 30 people. What happened to the other 8 billion people? Right? Your brain literally will just pull. That's why like we use a discipline of sample sizes, because without sample sizes, we know the brain is playing tricks. So if you say, hey, my product's better than most, we're like, well, what did you compare it to what? How did you design that idea or your thought to be tested? And how did you test it? Which is, by the way, this is really complex. A lot of times, let me show you what the press secretary do, and it's not in the lesson. The press secretary will manipulate others by giving people information that is not testable. So I would say something to you that just I would articulate it well, surrounded with some weighted facts or emotional stuff, but there's no way to test your idea. And then you'll say, what, you don't respect me, don't believe me? Because the press secretary has already built a whole argument to actually protect the direction it's trying to go in, right? So it doesn't need to be, it's not lying, it's exaggerating, amplifying, and then sometimes shifting some of the details to make things work. Or taking the content and readjusting the context, going back to what Court was teaching earlier. Keep going, Shakisha.
It used to be that whenever I heard politicians say outrageous things that had no basis in reality, I would ask myself, they can't actually believe that, can they? But the more I learn about the press secretary module, the more I think that's actually not a useful question.
Keep going.
The press secretary excels at giving us reason to believe. That's its job, and it's very good at it.
Keep going.
Almost all of us, politicians included, have said things that we know to be bald-faced lies. But for most of us, those kinds of falsehoods are rare.
So we're not talking about lying. Go ahead.
Flat-out lies are at one end of what we can call the range of self-awareness. The end where we're absolutely aware of the veracity of what we're saying. Most of us don't say a lot of falsehoods at that end of the range, in large part because the press secretary can't operate there.
So real quick, remember I said most people are good? You're like, well, I don't know about some people. Because most people are good, so when they're lying to you, they're distorted more than they're lying to you. I'm not saying that people don't lie. But a lot of times, if you walk through Oakland, if you're in Oakland business, anybody been in this Oakland business circle, it feel like everybody's lying.
Man.
Right? It's so bad. Like,
It's really bad.
I mean, when me and Court first got together, and we made this argument, I was like, Court, come, let's go out. And we went out to a party, and Cass was press secretary, and us to death. We doing this, we doing that. The way those cats sound, they sound like they was about to rebuild New Oakland. Then you find out, oh, they just work for other people. Am I lying? It was so, and we hear it all the time, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. Well, yeah, no, right? But the thing is, but if you think people are lying to you, think about how you feel now inside. Ouch, you bitter now. You're irritated with people, which doesn't work for you. But if you see it's a press secretary, you go, huh, and that's all you say. You don't make no judgment. You don't say, that's an assumption. You just go, huh, okay. Because the end is like, I don't need to win the battle. I'm trying to win the war. So a lot of times you let a lot of small stuff go past you because you're like, okay, this person's brain is creating cognitive dissonance, a press secretary, mental distortions, limiting beliefs. All these kind of things could be flowing in their conversation. Don't become the champion of right versus wrong because you're just as much as a problem as they are. Because why do you need to tell them their press secretary is off unless they're coming for your money? Right? But if somebody's talking to you, sometimes they just, okay, let's say somebody's been super depressed for the last 3 years. And they come out of depression and they're using these the press secretary is kind of working overtime to try to help them get out of their depression. And here you come along talking about lies, 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 and lies. Next day you show up, they just got Prozac in their hand like this. Because it's kind of fucked up, right? So the reality is that, the reality is like, it's not a lie. It is a mental distortion that we're all, and here's the thing. The person listening to me right now who says, I seen about other press secretaries, you do it just as much. It's what our brain is trained to do because we're a herd animal. We're trying to protect our status in the herd. We're not willing to say, I'm nobody because we physically die from that. Next paragraph.
He had absolutely no idea that he was giving a false explanation for his responses. Most of the time, most of us operate in the murky middle of the range of self-awareness, where plausible deniability exists and where the press secretary really shines.
So when you're in your space of just autopilot, your press secretary is acting a fool. And a lot of times people say, hey man, Nana, I don't know why people feel this way about me. Really good person. Why don't I have more people who like me? The press secretary's destroyed all your relationships. Or why don't none of my friends get me on at the job? Press secretary be like, man, I'm not fucking with that dude. Even though, like, I know a lot of people, if you could just stop them and slow them down, there's somebody I know right now in Oakland who got an aggressively abusive brand. And he's, in his space, he talks in a way that's so disrespectful. But if you get him to sit down with you and just have a real conversation, brilliant person. He's like, well, how the fuck are this person exists and this person exists in the same person? Because when this person is walking down the street, they don't feel like they're good enough. And they're just talking to you. But when the subconscious kick in, then they're aware, they're present. So you have the deepest substance and you get a chance to see that this person is actually a good person. But when they over here, they're just trying to paint a world to protect their relationship to the status. And if they tell themselves they're a boss or they're the most popular person in the room or they're the strongest person in the room, they're going to continue to use ideas and conversations to reference that that's who they are. Especially in this world now of social media where everybody feels they all could be bosses. Everybody want to be a boss. Right. So when you're out in the public, everybody, like I think I was talking to Shakina, I was like, social media is a press secretary's playing ground. Ain't nobody talking on social media. It's just press secretaries going back and forth talking to each other. I'm fabulous, you're fabulous. Oh my God, you're fabulous. Even when I praise you, I'm praising you because you've seen that I'm praising you. Like, it's a press secretary like playhouse. So when I say, like as you can see, as I'm describing this, how I'm shaping the world of being serious, and how as you start to become aware of the press secretary, you move differently, which I'm gonna get to why you need to be aware of it and learn how to move differently around it, because otherwise you're taking losses behind it. Keep going. Next slide. Next slide.
As these examples show, the press secretary excels at ignoring inconvenient information.
So when you go to somebody, when they highlight the press secretary and you try to give them facts, they're not trying to hear all that shit. I'm not facts. Or they make the facts fit what they need to say. Or they say when you give them facts, you hating. Or why? Nobody asked you for all that shit. Why can't I just be? Right? Like facts. Dre. So it's like one of those things where like the press secretary is not, it lives in a space of, and think about this. So if you're avoiding facts and in your day-to-day conversations and you're supposed to be a business leader, who's trusting you? Think about how cold that shit is. You're literally moving in a space of lack of facts. This is why when somebody comes to you and you're destroying partnership. Let's say I really know your industry, and your press secretary takes off because you don't feel like you're good enough, so you're trying to prove yourself to me. Or I'm in front of you in business, and you're just trying to prove yourself. As you continue to talk, you're pushing yourself further away from us ever having a partnership. And you'll say, oh, it's because of gender. Oh, it's because of age. Oh, it's because of my skin color. No, your press secretary is fucking up the game. Go ahead.
What's even more striking, though, is how good it is at incorporating anything and everything that is convenient, that can be used to confirm to ourselves that we're more competent than we actually are.
Remember that time? So if you might listen to the podcast, those of you who didn't get a chance to listen to the podcast, it's called Plausible Ignorance. And one of the things that happens in plausible ignorance is one of the things that happen in plausible ignorance is that you'll make this thing like everybody's doing this, right? And you don't realize, you say everybody in college drinks. But if you actually did pull the data, you realize most people in college don't drink, right? But you just look at that small group that in that frat house and everybody got drunk, you assume everybody participates in the same thing, right? So press secretary will take facts and information and adjust it to a known that's not actually factual. Even when you said earlier, in the tech world, everybody texts when they communicates, right? First of all, let me warn you against that phrase. More companies adopt bad policies because the person who comes into the company and brings a new policy is really copy and pasting from a popular trend, even if that popular trend is failing everybody. So a lot of times when you say, well, everybody's doing it, you still said nothing to me. Oh, this is all the big companies are working with this. You said nothing to me. So in your analysis, your press secretary can't wait to grab that form of thinking of they, these people, everybody to make your argument. Or the minute 5 times I did this, what about the 85 times you didn't do it? Like it's just your brain would just change the weight of everything you're saying because in the end you're trying to validate who you are. And here's the thing: it's not that you telling me this, but you don't believe it. It's manipulating you to believe it's true. So now you're backing it with all the data you could pull and all your knowledge, all your insight, all your wisdom, because you believe it's true. It's not that you don't believe it's true. You see, guys, get on with this. So then you really feel, look, I've done this 5 times. I've been romantic. I brought you flowers. Five. We've been together for 20 years, dog. 5 times. 5 times. Oh, you guys, 5 times, huh? Tell me somebody could do better. like this distortion, right? So it's like, oh, I see you. Every time I see you, you're doing something this. Every time you see me, you only see me twice in like 3 years. What you talking about? right? So the press secretary does that kind of stuff. Is moving information around in a convenient way to justify his position. So you believe it. So now when you talk to people, you're amplifying something that does not exist. You don't have any facts for it. And this is important because if this grows in your team, you're just standing there and you're dead in front of me. Your eyes might be open, but you're just dying right in front of me. If your team moves in this space and you're in competition, you're dead in the water. That's why as a leader of your business, you have to gain press secretary clarity to lead your team. If you don't have press secretary clarity and you're leading your team, then look about your day-to-day engagement with them and how you're judging them and things you're saying to them and how you feel about, they can't really do this job. They're really bad. They made 2 mistakes in 3 years. What the fuck you talking about? They're really bad. Right? Like you can't look at it, and you don't see how you're showing up and how you're destroying their trust because every time they talk to you, they're like, there's no way in the world you could have traveled the world 7 times and you're 20 years of age. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, I've been to every country 7 times. You mean you went to Africa and Japan and came back? But in your brain, you're like, no, I went over the whole world. 7 times. How old are you? I'm 21. Your employer's like, I can find me a new job soon. So I'm trying to explain to you, like, you talk in a way that people just don't trust you. You guys ever met somebody like a salesy person? I'm doing big things. I just did this. I'm doing that. We're doing this and this. And you listen to them going, I don't know if I see you the same. too much. Keep going.
Can I jump in here? I think it goes also back to what you were talking about in your relationship with reality. We gotta have a strong relationship with reality, or our press secretaries will take off on us. I was thinking about when you was talking pre-DNA testing. My mom used to say we was mixed with all kind of shit, right? Native American, Irish, all and then throughout my lifetime, if I did certain things, she would bring out that's why, because Native American and Irish this, Native American that. So when I got older, I did my DNA. No Irish to be found. So I call upon myself to check her on that.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with all this Irish shit? We have 0 Irish. That DNA test wrong. So you telling me DNA is wrong? Yes, that's wrong. It's because cognitive dissonance, once you believe something, that's how strong the press secretary is. It will, in your mind, supersede the realities of things to keep moving in your assumptions and your beliefs. So that's why it's important in entrepreneurship. We got to have 1 foot deep in reality.
Look, black people, we're not doing a bit good because of racism. Is a press secretary comment. It's a press secretary comment. I told one of my thug partners, one of my dope dealer partners, can never say his name. So I see him every once in a while. I said, let me ask you something. When you was in prison, did you do shit the warden wouldn't permit? He said, yeah. Was it cats picking underground money? He said, yeah. I said, then you made a whole career selling dope, right? He said, yeah. I said, the government ever permit that? I said, yeah. I said, so now why you tripping on the white man now? Like, you lived your whole life avoiding the top white man. Now you gonna worry about the little dude next door? Is that how we doing it now? Or now you want to do some legitimate? You're like, the white man going, really? That's a press secretary because you've been suppressed culturally. So a lot of the ways you think undermines what you achieve. So your press secretary tells you, well, it's okay because white supremacy won't let you get past a certain line. That's not true. But it feels right. And then as a group, we've developed a press secretary contagion. Yeah. Racism won't let us perform. It won't let you perform. But I can promise you, there's no such thing as human beings can't hold a perfect line. There's just no such thing. Like, try to organize a group of people to hold any line on anything. That shit is so damn hard. We all gonna eat sandwiches tomorrow. Damn, John, did we say sandwiches? Like, it just don't work. I'm tired of sandwiches. Y'all eat
A white party. Somebody gonna come in with black.
Like, oh, yeah, talking about, man, I got to be different, player. So, so I'm just saying, like, holding a line is almost insanely crazy to assume, but to assume that racism is insurmountable. Somebody put a fucking plane in the air with human beings flying in a machine, about 100 and some of us flying the same machine, and none of us can fly individually. And we were talking about racism is insurmountable. That's your press secretary giving you a way out to feel good about yourself. It just is what it is. Which then allows you, which I'm gonna get into the answer in a minute. So keep going.
Where did we stop? Or
Negro spirits.
or more virtuous or moral or anything else that will improve our standing in the eyes of others. As we saw at the start of this chapter, confirmation bias is right up there with overconfidence. There's a real danger that these efforts could backfire.
Here we go, Yapasua.
For example, we often think that giving people more information will help.
Oh yeah, this is something different. So go back. Let me reset your thoughts. This here is what I dealt with in the class for the last 3 years. Start that paragraph all over again.
There's a real danger that these efforts could backfire. For example, we often think that giving people more information will help, but replace the word people there with press secretaries, and the risk becomes clear. The press secretary module will pick out the most self-serving bits and use them to draft even more convincing memos.
CEOs, students in this class. I've heard people say to me, dude, I already learned that last year. It's not my ego. I learned this last year. I don't have this problem. I don't know why you would even say I have that problem, Nana. And they would start to use the language I taught in class at me to describe why they don't have the problem, because at the end of the day, the press secretary. So what you'll find is giving people more knowledge doesn't fix the press secretary. That's why a lot of CEOs got some of the worst press secretaries you've ever seen, and they have our academics are really known for this. Like we work with a lot of academics, PhD students right now. Oh my God, it's so hard to talk to them sometimes. They can't see themselves. Sometimes I can even give you. I should send you guys a podcast where you see these academics. They have a belief or a distortion in their mind, and then they will use all this wonderful language and complex historical samples to justify a dumbass idea. Mm-hmm. And if you don't feel like you're good enough, just because they're so charismatic, you'll go, "Oh my God, I didn't think about that before. Oh my." Like social justice stuff taken off on the backs of some eloquent people who spoke so well to the fact that you said, "Oh, that must be true." That shit is not true. It's not scalable. In business, you will go to a business. There was if you learn about investing, if you ever decide to learn about, because investing, don't jump into investing unless you learn. They'll tell you never listen to CNBC. You can watch this. You watch the data. But don't listen to the people speak, because 90 times they're going to say some wonderful things, but most of the stuff they're going to say is not true. Mm. The world is full of press secretaries. There's a lot of rich white people who have strong press secretaries, with a lot of academics who are very, very smart, who have a lot. So a lot of you guys are sitting in class, been here for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and can articulate, like, you could literally sound like me in a forum. But you're underperforming because your press secretary is weaponizing that against you. Your knowledge is your enemy, and you don't even see it. You can't ask those simple questions like, what does this mean? And did I really move the needle? Mm-hmm. Is this actually a solution, or does it just make me feel good? Like these really simple questions that you got to get into, but a lot of times you mask it with all these fancy words, and then you put some emotional dialogue around it. Like I told, good is not necessarily right. Matter of fact, most of the time, good is not always right. But you'll make a good argument, a moral argument, to make a business decision. What? What? Huh?
That's game. Yeah, that's.
So a lot of times in business, you'll say, you make an argument like, this feels really good, this is the right thing to do, and this is what makes sense. Because ultimately you believe in, let's reduce the friction. Okay, give you an example. You have a child, right? And you think, well, my child needs these things, and it'd be good to help them out. And as a father, I feel like it'd just be right that I show up. No, that child needs to suffer some friction so your fucking child can grow up. Now the child's 18 and is about as immature as possible because you never had let that child have a friction space. Some decisions have to feel bad to be a good decision. War feels bad. A lot of business decisions don't feel great. Laying off a certain group of people don't feel great. Firing somebody don't feel great, right? Giving people feedback and telling them they suck don't feel good. Great. Sometimes telling them to disrupt the team's comfort zone, to shift the direction you need to go in, don't feel great. But if you protect feelings, I'm gonna get into this next week, really deep. All right, now let's keep going. I'll get to it because I'm actually got something here. Keep going.
The more you know, the more you become polarized.
Woo.
But
Dave, just before you go there, the more you know, the more you become polarized. Do you realize that this is why people on both sides of like the Republican versus Democrat are so articulate, and they're never gonna, and then the more they know, they're weaponizing their press secretary to not hear. For example, okay, if you know in the middle of America there's a large population of poor white people, really poor like black folks in the hood poor. But in your brain, you're saying, oh, white people are this. First of all white, there's no such thing as all nobody, right? But your press secretary is altering facts to validate your position. So, okay, I started an organization, they believe in DI, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? And as they're talking, they're really talking anti-white males.
Yep.
As I'm listening to them talk, they're like, yeah, as black people and people have been underserved, Latino people, and underserved Asian people, we got to focus on giving them opportunities. What about the poor white people who didn't have opportunities? Right? You don't see them. So what you're really doing is you're not helping a group that's underserved. You're just trying to switch places. So now somebody on the other side goes, yo, I feel like you're trying to do 3-card Molly on power for white folks. We conquered this land. What you doing? So now the Republican side is like, yo, we over here. And the Democrats are like, yeah, but you don't care about people. But if they actually were able to ask some simple questions, they realize they're closer to the middle than they realize. And number two, their separation is really them over-articulating these extreme ideas that somebody was able to come along and make it sound really, really good. But there's nothing there. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there. But I promise you, I sit with extreme lefts, and I sit with extreme right, and they both just be on some shit. They just be saying, I'm listening to them all the time, like, that's not even possible. Like this one dude's like, yeah, I'm gonna buy gold, cause that's just, I gotta get ready for the. And he's buy gold, and I said, dude, gold and cash is the same thing. He said, what do you mean? You can't eat either one of them. If you're in the middle of the desert, neither one's gonna save your ass. Neither one of them have any value unless everybody accepts they have value. Meaning that dollars and gold only exist, their values only existed because we accept they have value, right? So only reason gold gains more momentum is when country hits a point of fear, we'll say, oh shoot, let's go back to gold. But gold is not scalable. When gold was popular, the population was this small. We were like one something point billion people. We're at 8 billion people now. If we were still depending on gold, we had some problems. Mm-hmm. We're a global economic system. So going back to gold almost seems funny. Number two, if people say tomorrow, we don't give a shit about gold. At one point, stainless steel was a big thing. If you go back in American history, stainless steel was a valuable item. Now, go in a corner and go sell your stainless steel knives and forks. See how much you get. If you get $2, get a candy bar, you won. I don't want them to use that stainless steel. So go ahead, Shamisha.
But when I switch from the Homo sapiens to the Homo socialist perspective, I see a risk with this approach to making better decisions. Training ourselves to think again and be more rational has many benefits.
This is being serious. Go ahead.
But it also gives our press secretaries powerful new material to work with. Mm-hmm. They can add to their memos sentences like, since you worked so hard on your reasoning, you can be more sure that you're correct in this case.
Literally, you can, I have a brother right now, he's extremely smart, and he's extremely stuck, because his press secretary tells him, I remember he used to say to me back in the days, and I was weird, he's like, yeah, we're conscious brothers and sisters. Me and you, we've been conscious for a long time. And one day I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What have we done? What have we changed? We held an opinion, but what the fuck does that mean, right? But in his brain, no, he's conscious, and that means he's subscribed to a group of values, and he has to live a certain kind of way because he's conscious, produces zero results. But he's committed to an idea because it's a higher value, which means it raises his personal value. And he's so intelligent, I challenge you to debate him. You won't win. He's that good. But he's stuck in that space because his press secretaries use all that knowledge he's gathered to justify his position, even if he's losing, but it makes him feel better. Next slide. I'm trying to get to the solutions.
We see now that such training might even make them behave worse.
Yes, it does.
Because it'll give graduates, press secretaries, a new sentence to include in their memos.
There you go. Yes, it does. Keep going.
You have been through ethics training. Therefore, you are now a highly ethical individual.
Okay, so most DEI organizations don't practice internal DEI. Most diverse, equity, inclusion don't value their own employees. Don't have ideation systems in place. Don't pour into their own team and tokenizes the races within their own organization. But they will turn around and can articulate to you why you are flawed and DI is this other thing, but cannot see what's happening in their own backyard because they can't see the separation between the way the press secretary is shaping the story and how they're really showing up. And when most people get into power who believe in DI, they don't practice DI practices. They don't have DI practices.
I'm going to keep reading.
Yeah, keep going. It's trash. Keep going.
In other words, the training could provide moral licensing,
Yeah, moral lights. There you go.
permission to behave badly under cover of the self-deceptive belief that you're a good person.
So a lot of people are running around. Just, once again, press secretaries, you're a good person, but you move in a bad way. You're flawed. You broken many. You know, I'm a loyal person. I stick to what I say. You've broken more agreements in a little bit, but you won't see it.
I have a thing. I have a thing and it's making me uncomfortable because I don't really know how to process it. So,
If Jasadi has anything to do with it, yes, go ahead.
So I'm going to give you a scenario. Let's say you're holding an open, you have an open designer role,
Yeah.
and you are looking for someone, and they say something that is a little, I don't know, maybe tone deaf, in the interview.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lots of other things that says that they should maybe move forward. But there's something in, I don't know, they said this one thing that just came off a little, I don't know, something weird. Now they're not moving forward because somebody has decided that they were tone deaf to the social times. I'm really struggling with that because I was like, well, but did we ask them what they mean? Was there any point for clarity? Because now I feel
So
like
let me get to that next week because that's part of my next week lesson. Okay,
Okay.
keep going. Let's keep going. I promise I'll get to that. Promise you. I can't wait to get to that. I'm so excited about to get to that. Go ahead.
In other words, the training could provide moral licensing, permission to behave badly under the cover of self-deceptive belief that you're a good person. Psychologist Sonia Sachdeva
yeah.
and her colleagues observed this licensing in a study where they had participants write a story about themselves, emphasizing either positive or negative traits. They were paid for this work, then offered the chance to donate some of the money they just received. On average, those who wrote a positive self-story donated only a fifth as much as those who wrote a negative one. The researchers suggest that affirming a moral identity leads people to feel licensed to act immorally.
So when you affirm a moral identity, it gives you a license to act immoral. Can you imagine what preachers are going through? I'm moral.
Yeah.
No. Matter of fact, with somebody, so this is an old school game. If somebody keeps telling you something over and over and over, this is why you doubt it. Let me say this again. If somebody continues to identify themselves as something over and over, this is why you doubt it. Because if you're trying to sell me or something, that means if you really believe deeply, that's what you stand on. I'm moral. Then what you'll find is quite often is that you actually move the opposite way. How many times have you seen a super pro-black dude with a white woman? right? Because I'm so pro-black, it gives me a license to do whatever I want to do. Right? No, it doesn't. This is such a cold game. So this indirect, because press secretaries, you move to society. I'm an honest business person. Now you just created doubt in me. Because I don't know if you have a license now to not be an honest business person or move a certain kind of way. When you overemphasize something, right? Number two, often you really don't know how you really show up because you're stuck in this idea of who you are, not what you can't see what you are because you don't allow a healthy feedback to give you advice or access to who you really are. Keep going. I'm trying to get to the. Did we finish this one? Okay.
Yep. All of these insights about overconfidence, confirmation bias, and our tireless press secretary modules seem to leave us in a hopeless place.
Mm-hmm.
They show that our press secretaries keep us from being rational evaluators of the information we receive.
So when you receive information, it doesn't even give you access to properly evaluate information. And when I get into later on to strategy, you're gonna say this shit is so cold because you would have a large group of smart people moving in a superficial way or working against themselves and won't even know they're doing it because we're not designed to work against ourselves. We're never designed to work against ourselves. But when that press secretary takes off within a group and it becomes contagious because the leader has a bad press, so the leader suffers from press secretary problems, your team will develop press secretary movements and routines that will ultimately destroy, they will sabotage themselves unknowing to themselves. They won't even know they're doing it to themselves. This is why you gotta work on it for yourself before you can fix your team. And if you build a team, people don't read books and become, we copy and paste the person in front of us. So if your press secretary dominates a lot of your movements and decision making, your management team underneath you are going to move with a press secretary. And what's going to happen is that the elephant in the room has more power of your organization than you guys. Mm. Because you guys are so disconnected from who you are and how you're showing up. There's two versions. And so you think you're doing this, customers see this, you think you're doing this, and you're missing this, you're not solving any of these problems because your press secretary says, hey, we good. We good. Ain't nothing wrong over here. You tripping. Mm-hmm. You gonna embarrass me by telling me I've been working on this project for 6 months, and you tell me to turn the project around? No, this is gonna work. No, it's gonna crash. But you can't even turn it around because your press secretary tells you, you've been doing this shit for 6 months. You've been working on this project for 6 months, 2 years, you poured hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. I know you're not about to turn around. Mm-hmm. This would be a moral embarrassment. That's all you have. You won't have any facts. All you have is a press secretary telling you, and so you won't even set the conversation up with your team and say, hey, let's have an ideation moment and say, is this a good idea or not? You just be like, yo, I don't even talk about that shit. Next week, I'm gonna talk about some other shit. Or you design your meetings so your press secretary is never challenged. Mm-hmm. Look, we ain't got time. Let's just get these notes real fast. We're gonna pack this meeting with a lot of stuff. Go with no problem. We don't have time to get into the details, the context, and that shit. We gotta hurry and get through this stuff. Okay, you said you'll promise you'll do this, you'll do that, you'll do this. Everybody has something to do. You get your orders. Everybody go do your order. Okay, but you all about to go out and do dumb shit. Now, here's the thing. Y'all can come back the next week and be like, yo, we did dumb shit and we got 200 grand. And my press secretary goes, see, what I say?
Man.
What I say?
Man.
Work.
All I say. But watch the cold part. You could have got $2 million. Mm-hmm. Or you got 200,000 5 times and your business collapsed and it's over because you went down the wrong path and there was rewards to failure. Mm-hmm. There's a such thing called rewards to failure. And so your press secretary will literally have you designing your company to protect you from the feedback you don't want to hear. Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving. I'm done for that.
This shit is so cold. I'm telling you, like, once you start to span this press secretary out to like working with people and building something, you realize, oh shit, I have to learn how to gain access to the way I think. Otherwise, and put people around me to protect me from me. And if I don't feel like I'm good enough, I got the other thing called defensive thinking, which we'll get into after this will be the final part of this cycle of the press secretary. You put defensive behavior thinking combined with press secretary, and your world is so distorted you have no idea what you're working on. And you will feel a sense of control within your beliefs, even if your belief has no results to show for it.
You said it's important for your team to see you checking your press secretary. Is that you, if you're at a staff meeting and you're hearing press secretaries, is that you questioning where that's coming from, where the data's coming from? How are you demonstrating for your team?
So we get there. We get there. That's a design issue. Where are we at on this one?
Instead of these mental modules, pick out all of the remotely plausible bits of information that make us look good. Draft memos based on these bits, then send these memos to the parts of our mind that interface with our fellow ultra-social human beings.
Well, where you at?
Left side.
Left paragraph.
Oh, next.
Left
Okay.
paragraph.
Oh, left paragraph. Okay. Keep going.
It's extraordinarily difficult to get our press secretaries to stand down.
So here's it. It's very difficult to get your press secretary to stand down. It's always going to take off on you. And especially for black folks, because we don't feel like we're good enough, it's going to be a little more amplified. So we all we all fly, we all dope. Like, okay, if an old man said, Sonny, why don't you ever wear suits? Who's going to get offended? Okay, but what if that old man says, pull your pants up? We get offended? Why did you get offended? If an old man tell you pull your pants up? How many people canceled Bill Cosby when he said pull your pants up?
I did. I canceled his ass.
That was a press secretary. Think about that. Because why does that matter?
Fuck that dude for that.
Just think what do you think an old man gonna say? You think an old man gonna say, hey, listen, when you go out there, stand on business. You understand me? Like, no, he's not gonna say that. This cat's 80-something years of age. Pull your pants up. Right? And nor does, because when the press secretary, this is how you know your press secretary is loud. You don't say, oh, why did he say that? You go, I'm going to. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Go ahead. That's important because y'all think it's about Bill Cosby. It goes way deeper than that. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
It's difficult to train ourselves not to be overconfident and not to succumb to confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. Our press secretaries simply make use of this training and, like jujitsu experts making use of their opponent's moves, draft memos telling us that we don't need to worry about overconfidence anymore.
Yep.
Because
somebody told me that. I had somebody who I was jamming them about not making a big business investment, and they literally went to jiu-jitsu move on me. Well, look, I've been in your class, and I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and then after they talked to a lawyer, they was like, shit, I was doing that, huh? I almost lost this kind of money.
Wow.
And they weren't lying to me. They're an extremely intelligent person. The problem is that because they're so intelligent, their press secretary is really, really good. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Because after all, we've had training.
I've been in Hope for 4 years. How you gonna tell me that, Nana? I know about my business. I've heard that class before. I was just telling my friend the same thing. So obviously I own it. Yeah, you own it if your subconscious is talking to me. But when you're feeling some kind of emotional way, your press secretary is controlling the conversation, not your subconscious.
Hey, there's a saying that the devil reads the Bible too.
Come on, man.
So your press secretary goes to the same classes you going to, reads the same books you're reading. So it has the ability to come up with all kinds of excuses and arguments and co-arguments to whatever you're saying. So it's not just an easy road. It's a challenge.
Have you guys, okay, I'll give you an example of how cold the brain is. Have you ever either been hungry or in a heightened sexual energy? And then once the sexual energy was satisfied, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? That's what the press secretary works just that way. Before you reach that height, that satisfaction of that hunger or that sexual energy, the thoughts you had felt so real. I challenge you to challenge me at that moment. Have you ever seen somebody who's in that puppy blind love and you try to tell that the person they're with is no good? And they can articulate why 1,000 reasons why that person is no good until that person leaves them and the press secretary is now been silenced. And they're like, how come you didn't tell me? Girl, what the fuck? I done told, what, wait, what? That's like that's how cold the press secretary is so cold when it's taking over. You're not in the driving seat. And it's so fast. And the more, if you're not practicing a degree of self-mastery, self-awareness, which makes you a little bit more serious, you're going to miss. Because you won't be able, because a lot of times you'll catch press secretaries in hindsight. You're like, I said that. But then you start to realize you have to speak slower and pause more so you can be true to the moments. When you speak too fast and you just, your press secretary is going to come out. Even me, if I'm in a crowd, a club, I'm like, hey, baby, what did it? Oh, what's up? At a festival or something like this, I done told you, I done said some lies somewhere. I know damn well I done told some lies. I didn't know I told a lie, but when I get home and somebody say, you said this, I'm like, I didn't say that shit. Somebody like, yeah, the fuck you did. Look, oh shit. I'm letting you know it's that cold. So it ain't, nobody's avoiding this if you don't know the discipline on how to move so it doesn't dominate you. Go ahead, keep going.
Being presented with more information doesn't do the
So
trick.
I'm gonna tell you, give you more information, and it's gonna help you see your press secretary. So I'm sharing with you. Shakina told me something the other week, and I said, Shakina, that's your press secretary. It's your press secretary, and then she walked out the house. I said, this motherfucker. The more you give him, that shit ain't gonna help nothing. He's like, oh, fuck it. I had to go in the room and be like, oh, what the fuck just happened? So just assuming that you give them the facts and you learned about press secretary, that you now equipped to have this conversation, you're not. Keep going. Next slide.
Oh.
So, why is it important for you to know the press secretary? If you can't see press secretaries, once you master the art of paying attention to press secretaries, first of all, you're going to realize how people lie and don't lie. But if you're in business, imagine all the promises that are coming towards you, all the offers, all the sales conversations, if you just pay me for this, if you deliver this, transactional type of conversations that are filled with press secretaries. How many people can come to you and be like, hey, I have access to a distributor in China. We can close right now. If you work with me, I can make that deal work for you. And I can even have some samples in my back room to give you, like, oh shit, this cat's real. But you don't know what questions to ask. So then court goes out and promise to say, the Warriors, oh, y'all having this big event, y'all gonna need some Warriors uniforms. I got that. So here's a bill, $300,000 up front. Warriors, nothing, let's go. You call your dude up, hey, got $300,000 worth of outfits. I need them in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, not tomorrow, 3 weeks. You say you have this relationship with China, let's go. 2.5 weeks, hey man.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
Now, guess what happened? Guess what happened? It's not that dude's fault. You know whose fault it was? It's yours because you couldn't see the press secretary. Yep. I'm online. You know what? I got my own company. I just did my first $1 million, y'all. I'm on the way to the top. And you're going to take that fact and share with somebody else? Mm-hmm. Or, hey, listen, I'm a lawyer now. I went to school to be a lawyer. I'm a lawyer now. I'm doing big things. Y'all should need to put me on your job. And you going to reference them? You see how the press, because everybody's amplifying. So people say, oh, I'm doing this. And you go, oh, well, shit, let's collaborate because this is a way to partnerships accelerate your growth. Everybody's running game. So the press secretary is your first lens on how to see the game. So, because Basham, when we first got started, Basham was like, Nana, how do you see all these people who continue to come to our office and run game on us? Because once I realized the pattern of the way the brain works, how it's full of distortions, I didn't have the word press secretary at the time. But then I could tell, oh, they're in a distortion space. Or I can't verify what they're saying. I have no way of knowing that. So for me to bank on what you just said to me, I had a situation with Tennille the other day. Somebody said, hey, listen, big business deal, come up to Sacramento, and on this date, lock it in. We're going to have a get-together with these top officials for this big contract in Sacramento. Tennille said, I said, book a hotel. I said, no, wait till about a week out. She said, why? I said, just trust me. They called the next day. Can we move that date? I said, that's kind of shit that happens in that kind of space. Press secretary tells me that they can do this. They're ready to move on this. They're ready to move on that. I got to watch you a little while and see who you really are and then adjust and make my plans around that. If I make my plans around press secretary, now I'm like, see, this is why I can't fuck with y'all. This is why I don't mess with black people. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with black people. They're just like every other human being. But one of the symptoms we do have is that we do exaggerate because we don't feel like we're good enough. Mm-hmm. And so because you know that, then you just build that filter in your system so you're never manipulated by somebody who is being manipulated by their own brain because they don't feel like they're good enough.
Bang, bang.
He done brought back his hip hop career. Do you have a question, Marquita?
What is it? So going back to the court example, what is it about us that wanted to believe that person?
It's that goes back to like that serious space, right? Our dreams get in front of our actions. We want to believe that I have an idea, and if somebody just invests in me, it's going to blow up. That's nothing there. You literally said nothing to me. If it happens to blow up, that's not still evidence that your dream was that strong and that solid. Because even the best of us realize that unpredictable things happen, and all of us are gambling, right? But these stories we tell, we're more disconnected from reality. Where this is a social media argument I was telling somebody the other day. Historically, I can measure a crowd's behavior by the environment they're in, because the environment dictates the behavior outcome, right? In 2023, so many young people spend so much time online that their beliefs are in front of is different than their environment, which is causing all this internal stress, depression, all these other, because they're saying in their mind, the world should be like this. It's because social media has replaced the herd. So it used to be, okay, the people in my neighborhood, we can all talk, and that kind of shapes my beliefs, my ideas, my thoughts, and we all kind of we all are different agents in this environment, so we all have different insights. So as we're talking, we're using the team's insight to kind of make decisions for ourselves, right? Now you go online, you talk to people where everybody's using their press secretary, everything's make-believe. And you watch TV, everything's make-believe. Corporate America's make-believe, right? When you work in corporate America, that's not real. It's make-believe, right? They create a false, curated world for you that's not connected to reality. Most time in corporate America, you focus internal, you don't focus on the external world that the engine is moving in, right? So you're at home and you're texting all the time, you're on the screen, and everything's false. Well, 95% of it's false. And then you watch TV and 90% of it's false. You go to work and like 80% of it's false. Now, a person's walking around like, the world should be like this. So we're stuck in our dreams and what we want more than what's really in front of us, right? Where if you go talk to businessmen like that were like my seniors, or they talk different. They were looking at you they made decisions totally different once you got to a business point, because they were here. It's like, I want to be able to hire a black woman, and you should work. And there's no reason why I don't think you should work. And I believe we get together, this can work together. And it'd be so beautiful once we get together. Now my ego's having a conversation. And when we get together, we build this big company, me and you together. And of course I take most of the money, but we blow all the shit up, right? You're not even part of my conversation. When you learn to see people, you realize, stop projecting, let them show up. Give them time to show up. Create space. Somebody promised you, say, let's do business tomorrow. Got me fucked up. No, I don't know you like that. I'm gonna need to give you some space to show up. And as you show up, I'm like, oh, okay. Can they fit in my system, or is it gonna be disruptive? So a lot of times we're doing more projecting than receiving. And so as we go to the black community, because black people, we gotta get together. Okay, let's keep going, because I just want to come up. Keep going.
Can I just jump in quickly?
Go ahead.
Also, Marquita, our gravity is to trust people. So when we're kids, 5 years old, we have to be taught not to take candy from strangers. We have to be taught not to speak. All those things have to be embedded in us. And then when we get hurt in life, we start to put these defensives up. And then our trauma creates these walls. But the thing is, if you're a good salesperson or a good manipulator, you're good at overcoming those barriers in people, right? Because there's layers of people to get people to trust you. What is it? Why should I believe you? What's in it for me? Those are questions people come up with. And so if you're good at sales, you can show up in a way to where you look a certain way, you look trustworthy, you're wearing a suit, you're doing all the things, and then you learn the buzzwords. You learn all the buzzwords. So then when your spidey senses and all your defensiveness is kicking in, waiting to trust, they just said a buzzword. You relax a little bit. They said, so over time, they just running game on you, and you don't even know it. Next thing you know, your cognitive dissonance kicks in, and now that person is it. They just got you hyped. They said all the buzzwords. They overcame all your mental barriers, and now you all in. And that's what happens a lot to us.
My mother died from cancer. And they asked her, my mother said, how come, before she died, she said, how come you didn't catch the cancer sooner? They said, because you were so overweight, we couldn't see it, right? Businesses develop cancers all the time. A lot of times, one of the signs of a cancer is the buzzwords people are using within your company. Once you learn to hear these words and hear certain language, you realize, I have a cancer. Don't find out when it's too late. You can actually address a lot of cancers by shifting the culture to address all the cultural cancers, which I'm gonna get into a little bit later. But this is the entry level to, like, it seems petty, but like, I'll give you one example. If somebody says, let's get back to the hard work. They're losing hope and they're complacent. There's no such thing. There's certain things, or they say something like, if the boss doesn't know, that's corporate sabotage. Right? And if the group goes, yeah, that means you let a mindset, it's starting to grow in your group, that as that grows, they're going to destroy the team. There's so many different, I can run down a list of phrases that people will say so casual with no thought put into it. The press secretary also can provide some information for you once you learn to hear it. Because as you hear yours, you'll learn how it talks. You start hearing how, if it says this, then this is what they really mean. And that's where you start to become contextual listeners. But if you just listen to what people say at you directly, and you kind of try to measure, like, do I trust you? Do I not trust you? What did I know about you? What did people say about you? How are you dressed? How do you look? Right? When a salesperson talks to me, I believe nothing you said. I remember one time I was being an asshole. This one dude's like, yo, I ain't gonna make no money off this deal. I said, I don't know about your life. I don't give a shit about that. Fuck you talking about? I was like, I don't live with you. What the fuck you gonna tell me you don't make no money? They put somebody in front of me who gives a fuck about this conversation. And he looked at me like, you're an asshole. And I was like, yeah, I was kind of an asshole. I was wrong with that. I was just in one of those I was in those Jordan spaces. That's an assumption. Next slide. So, how do we fight the press secretary? That goes back to what Marquita was saying. You design an organization where you have healthy feedback and conversations. If you don't have a rich feedback loop in your organization, there's no way in the world you can't start to damage a press secretary. That means your staff should be able to give you feedback on how you're showing up, and you should seek it. If you and here's the thing, if you ask them out the gate and you don't position yourself correctly, they're never gonna give you a true answer. Oh, no, you're not. I feel comfortable saying what I want to say. And if a consultant comes in and pulls aside, they be like, well, let me tell you what he's doing. He's doing this. And you ain't never heard none of that shit. Why? Because when you position yourself because you don't feel like you're good enough. I'm the boss. And you overflex your muscles. You got the power. What the fuck are you doing flexing? Right? But you flex so much, you created a space where your employees don't feel safe. You have to create safe spaces for people to provide feedback and make mistakes. And give bad feedback. Never for you, Josh, we're not gonna go down that road. So the group is how you design your team and create the safety of the communication for feedback to work. Also, you have to permit arguments. Next slide. So one of the reasons groups may not work, because we curate weakness. We create people around us. So, okay, for example, imagine you have a strong press secretary, and you come hang out with me, Court, and Mashama, and we just shooting down everything you saying. Sham, bam, we just knock it. Nope, don't make sense. Nope, stupid. Nope, don't make sense. First of all, you'll say, oh, I feel like I'm being stabbed. You hear what the press secretary just do it? If the press secretary, if you feel attacked, your press secretary now is like, okay, what do we say? What do we do? So now the press secretary realizes, okay, these guys have too much horsepower. I can't defeat them with my words. So guess what you do? You go back home and you create people around you that won't threaten your press secretary. You hire employees that won't threaten your press secretary. You actually curate your own weakness. Because see, when you're around me, Court, and Mashama, press secretary needs control. We're taking away your control every time you talk to us. Man, this big idea, I'm about to do this. We're like, that's a horrible idea. Why? And we like, man, nothing works around y'all. So you'll go home and build a whole team of people that will make your press secretary say, I told you was a boss. Look, they keep calling you a boss. All the homeless people in your job think you're a boss. Literally, I'm not, if I'm paying you, I pay you a good salary. You're not that, you're educated, but you need to follow my system to do what the fuck you need to do. I got the ideas. I don't really need your ideas. Just do what the fuck I asked you to do. Here's a memoir. Read this shit. Do this shit. I measure this shit. Or I fire you. That's all it is. Right? This is a lot of corporate America right now. And employees learn to just kind of fall in place to keep that paycheck coming. Right? And your press secretary is like, see, I told you. We're a boss. We know what we're doing. And you will make a little bit of money. Don't realize the money you're not making. Or you might make some money and you head down the path of destruction on a profit. That's just real. You could make $300,000 a year to your destruction because in the end, you curated all these people who will give you poor feedback. So when they see your press secretary, they will even go this far. Have you ever been to a corporate America and the employees are apologizing for their supervisor or the CEO going, yeah, he's sometimes an asshole or he doesn't really care about these things. So when you talk to him, make sure you don't talk about these things because I might offend him, right? What they just told you is when you talk to this damaged leader, don't go in that room and disrupt their press secretary because if they sense it and press secretary realize, oh, you going up against me? I don't want that contract. I want y'all to understand this is a cold game. Once you get into this shit, you realize, oh, this is a whole ecosystem where leaders are right now building business. So this is why you can take off and go through a hype cycle. Made some money. And when you fall, you never come back because your press secretary just got beat the fuck up. That's why a fall hurts more because you say to yourself, first you're like, I told you my press secretary knew what was up. I told you, dog, just listen to me. We're gonna blow this shit up. It's me and you, dog. Just stay with me. Don't all them haters and all that feedback shit. Now I'm be talking about. Just tell them shut the fuck up. Just listen to me. And then when you fall, your press secretary will be like, man, I don't even know what happened. Man, the world must hate us. I mean, I know we perfect and shit. Damn. It must just been like the weather and shit, and like the economy and Trump and shit, and Biden. You know what? I'm gonna start becoming a hella mad ass Democrat and shit because I'm tired of this president. Ain't gonna do with the goddamn president. You were trash. Always been trash. You happen to find a certain space in the market that was underserved, and when competition showed up, it destroyed your value.
Hey, did you say you was trash? You always been trash?
Hey,
that's fucked up.
Hey. But in business, I'm saying because look, okay, if I go to the gym and I ain't never worked out before, and I'm weak, right? My workout's trash. It can grow into something amazing, but if I start telling myself I'm working, how many times have you seen people at the gym who are convinced they have the hardest workout in the world and they walk on a treadmill while they're on a cell phone? And they tell you, whew, I had a hard workout today. I don't understand why I ain't losing no weight. I think I just big boned it or something. No. They get a real trainer and then they think the trainer's trying to kill them. They get a trainer, oh, this trainer trying to kill me. Hey, I can't do this shit. I'm gonna call my doctor. I'm gonna sue their ass. But I don't sweat. I don't sweat at all. Ooh. Yeah, if you don't come on now. So, because I'm stuck, because I'm about to go into some jokes, I'm getting in trouble. So the point is this, that, I'm gonna start right here. We curate a weak feedback circle, and through that weak feedback circle, and because we don't want to feel that pain of, you told me I was weak, you told me this. Or, then we curate circles. This is gonna fuck y'all up. You know, as a Muslim, I believe that the direction I'm supposed to be going is a North Star, brother. And this is my belief. So now, what feedback you want to give me? No, Elijah Muhammad said I need to go this way. You see what I just did? When my belief becomes superior to my building. Your belief should never become superior to your building. Your belief cannot be honest to your destination because you've never seen your destination before. So you have to realize your beliefs will always bend as you grow and expand. And the only way, curiosity doesn't work if you lock down your beliefs. You can't be curious within, okay, let me see. I'm curious about how I can get some more of these right here because I don't really know the other wallet. I just want this wallet right here. Because I'm curious. I mean, did they make them silver, gold, leather? I didn't say leather. I don't want none of that shit. I said, I'm trying to be curious now. Is it going to be silver or gold or this same metal? I'm curious. You will literally reduce your options because your curiosity is locked down by your beliefs. when you become more committed to your beliefs than achieving the goal you wish to achieve, or you're more committed to your purpose to a point that your purpose disrupts your relationships. Your press secretary can hide behind your purpose. Well, based on my purpose, I can't hear you right now, sister. You might be right, but as a brother who believes this, I got to go this way. You understand me? That's not thinking. That's press secretary dominating the dialogue. Next slide. Read that Shabisha, I want you to read that 3 times so people can see what the fuck they just said.
Solidarity is a weakness.
Okay, because I know Shakina's been practicing Spanish, so say it a little bit slower because she might be twisting the words up and shit, and she might solidarity. So go ahead, see, read it again.
Solidarity is a weakness.
Black folks, we got to stick together. We got to really stick together, because in order for us to do something, we got to come together and all believe in the same thing. Read that again.
Solidarity is a weakness.
They just not loyal, baby. Loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. What?
Solidarity is a weakness.
Have you ever heard that before? Now, black folks, we've been raised our whole life about solidarity being one of the number one goals that we should be committed to. Mm-hmm. If you're building something, solidarity is an organizational weakness. Mm-hmm. You said, what was that? Okay. Let's say Ty. You know Ty. Influential dude, right? You ever see Ty with his partners? Man, he's hyped. Like, you want to be at his party, right? So let's say Ty is in the room and he happens to be your supervisor. Ty is very charismatic, strong personality, believes what he believes, very focused, must always win, don't care about losing, full of biases. And as human beings, if we practice solidarity, well, guess what we're doing? We're trying to make him comfortable with his damaged ass beliefs. Arguing makes an organization stronger. Being able to disagree makes an organization stronger. Looking for solidarity makes us satisfied and choose the most easiest answer, often making us weaker. It also amplifies the bias of the dominant people in the group. So if I'm the loudest voice in the group, and we all believe in solidarity, and I'm tired in the morning, what does Shamar say? Well, now that I think about it, Shamar might be right. See what just happened? I'm looking for solidarity over the facts. I don't want to and here's the opposite side. Let's flip that. Let's go to the other side, because remember, I believe in going 360 degrees around an idea. So because we all believe in solidarity, when you break from solidarity, guess what the group does to you? We punish you. We'll figure a way to punish you because you're not being solid with what we're saying. Either our idea is horrible. See, you can't say that in order for you to see around, okay, the way, the power of a group is that if no one person can see everything, but what the group does is that somebody can see around the corner. If it's 10 of us, somebody can see around the corner. 9 of us can't see, but 1 of us can. But if the strongest voice happens to be on this side of the wall, who can't see around the corner, who thinks by going straight is the direction to go, and the person who has a solution is shut out because of solidarity, we destroyed the group. Solidarity is a weakness. Doesn't mean you don't value. I'm pro-black. I don't have solidarity with the pro-black movement because that's a weakness. No movement is perfect in its inception. No movement is, right? Every movement needs to be revised over and over and over and over and over and over and over for it to grow. But often you will take a rendition of the movement, become loyal to that idea, and now you're weak in your ability to survive in society. I'm a gangster. If you subscribe to those ideas and there's no evolution, you have the same outcome as everybody else before you. Keep the shit 100. Solidarity, is that some cold shit? These are all solutions now to the press secretary. When you build your system, remove this idea of solidarity over everything. Matter of fact, one of the things that, okay, so them corporate white boys in Silicon Valley, going back to Silicon Valley, what makes them so good in innovation? They argue a lot. And that's just the way you move. A lot of times when we get into those environments, we can't take that arguing because it triggers too much in us. A lot of times we've been raised in our own household that arguing is a bad thing. Don't you dare argue with me. My kids argue with me. My 5-year-old will come for me. Look, and when she argues with me, I should say, hey, as long as you show respect, don't personalize it. Because that's how you should make all your arguments work. What do you feel? And let's validate your feelings first. And then let's have a conversation after we validate your feelings. I have to create a safe space for my daughter to say, at any time, I'm talking about my daughter can be an extreme, maximal cry and say, I said, what's wrong? Okay, what's bothering me? You be like, whoa, you did that cool, right? Because she feels safe to say it and know that daddy's not going to change his energy towards her, scream at her, put my hands on her, shake her up. None of that shit's going to happen. It's be like, okay, I'm going to address it, I'm going to acknowledge why you're thinking that way. And I'm going to say, okay, I see you thinking this way, and I'm going to move it forward for you, right? You have to learn how, many of us, because we're so triggered by friction, that when you use the word arguing, our brain goes to the extreme all or nothing what that means. Because that's what it meant in our household. Some of us watched our mothers and fathers get into physical fights in front of us. Mm-hmm. So you say argue, we go, I don't know about that one, Nana. Because if I argue, somebody going to be called motherfuckers, N-words, all kind of stuff. Right? No, you have to be able to argue. Me and Mashama argue all the time, and I love the hell out of this dude. And Corey been around us. We will debate all the time and go back and forth. Marquita, you seen it, right? Shabisha, you saw it. We're going back and forth. We're dancing. Tennille, you seen it. We just dancing. We're dancing. And then we go, answer. Nobody gets to come in that room and be like, no, I said it, I know. And every once in a while that can happen. Like if you don't want to got the most insight, the most play on it, all right, let's try your way. But understand, if we try your single way, we're about to test it. And if we sense anything is wrong, we're going back to the drawing board and we're going to call that idea. And I won't feel sensitive about that because I need my company to grow, not me to be right. It's a big difference. I need my company to grow, not me be right. And I'm comfortable being wrong more than I'm right. If growth is the goal, right? Now, let's say we're all in the room and Shamar gives some advice in our ideation process, and her ideas is somewhat weak. It's not weak. You have to train your team to think like this. It's necessary, because the day when it's strong, she may not show up because you shamed her every time you thought it was weak. You got to almost validate her, acknowledge, hey, I'm glad you get that idea. Why'd you say that? And if she doesn't, and if she provides feedback without facts, you might say, well, okay, Shamar, just do me one thing. Next time you want to bring facts like that, protect us by doing some research on what you have to suggest. If this is like a strong suggestion, now if it's just a light suggestion, then you frame it that way. Like, hey, well, I'm just thinking something. I just want to throw this out there. That's cool to frame it that way. But if you decide you want to argue a point, which is fine, you have responsibility to to back it up with facts. And if you don't have facts, become highly aware of what you don't own so you can be true to the argument. Be 100% clear. Do I really own this? Do I really own that? Am I really expert to this? Can I really see this? I don't really own this shit. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I'm going to hold it lightly. So then, next slide. Read this real quick. This is fire.
The geek norm of science is all about arguing.
So it's all about arguing. Go ahead.
It also specifies how to win arguments with evidence.
Not seniority.
Not seniority or charisma or past performance or rhetoric or philosophizing or appeals to morality or aesthetic.
Appeals to morality. Do you see that? Ty. Appeals to morality. So in arguing, sometimes people appeal to, what do you think social justice? You know, as a woman, I feel like you're not hearing what I have to say. What the fuck does that mean? You know, as a man who's shorter than you, I feel like you're looking down on me. You don't see me. What? That means your argument is weak. If you hit any of those, if an argument comes in your direction and somebody's arguing seniority, charisma, past performance, rhetoric, philosophizing, or appeal to morality or aesthetics, but no evidence, you got to be able to hear that. And you got to train your team to reach for evidence. They can have a space where they can speak in those other categories freely to spark our research to see if there's evidence in that direction. But you can't argue unless you have evidence. And it doesn't mean that evidence is facts or truth or accurate strategy on where you want to go, but it's worthy of being at in the table, right? But if your argument is, as a woman, I just feel like I need to be part of this discussion. As an LGBTQ plus, I just feel like I need to be included in this dialogue. I just feel like, no, none of that matters to me. This is why I hire on merit when I hire my employees. This is why I will fire on merit when I fire an employee. Because I don't give a shit about none of the other stuff. I give 10, I don't give a shit if you 602. I don't give a fuck you white, Chinese, black, or Portuguese. If you play a critical role in rich ideation that allows us to move with velocity, that's where I'm riding with you, baby. Let's go. Because in the end, my blackness is rewarded by what I build, not the everyday process. And I need to maximize that process. You don't. When the last time you brought a spark plug and said, "Yo, this we all want this green because I don't like green spark plugs." You want that engine to run. What's the best performing spark plugs to make this engine run at its maximum level? Now, when I get there, I want everybody to see my car. You understand me? It's a difference.
Hey, my daughter yesterday at dinner came to me and she said, "Dad, I just don't understand." She's 7. She said, "I don't understand why people don't let us girls and women fight in war. We can fight too. We're just as strong as men." I said, "Let's have a real conversation. Let's have a real conversation." I said, "Have you been in the same class with the boys in your classroom since you were 4? Most of them, yeah." I said, "Have you noticed a difference in how they've evolved and grown? Are most of the boys faster and stronger than you guys? Do they fight in class and wrestle sometimes? Yeah. Do you want to get in the middle of them when they wrestling?" She's like, "No." I said, "See the difference? Imagine you're 7. Imagine when you're 27." I said, here's a question. If you have people in another country that want to come and kill us all and take us and take you and take your mom and take them away, who do you want fighting them? You and your mom, or me and all my guy friends?" And she's like, "You and all your guy friends." I said, "That's real stuff. What you're watching on TV, Avatar and all the girls who fighting and they're doing these fight scenes with the guys, that's fake. But what you said, that came from your heart. That's real." So it's not now we're in a world now where truth is sullied by make believe, like you had talked about before. But we lead with evidence. So your argument can't be "I feel." Your argument can't be, "Well, I just got this feeling." Man, even if you're the most psychic person on earth, that's dope. But I need some evidence too. I need evidence to back that up. And if you're right, there's going to be evidence to back that up. And that's how we got to move.
You can't 90% of our, or 9 times out of 10, a lot of our beliefs are based upon popular beliefs. Very few of us get a chance to do research. So when you start to build something, you want to learn how to gain access to evidence and facts and details to make decisions. And even hiring people who are trained to bring details to the conversation, and also being able to look at if this must be true, then could this also be true? Because sometimes a person say you hire somebody who's highly trained in a certain area, they also have an ego and they want to be right. So as a leader, you got to be able to get past the seniority. I've been a CEO for 20 years. Charisma, Umar Johnson. Past performance, same thing. I built this shit before. Rhetoric, popular things that people are saying, as just everybody says it. Philosophizing. Look, as a Stoic and as Socrates would see it, if you don't sit your ass down, or let me explain this mental model and how this concept, you bring these concepts. Okay, what's I got to do taking out this trash? Just explain that to me real quick. like I promise you, it's like you got to be able to pull stuff apart. Rigorous thinking cannot be simplified. I'm sorry, y'all. And that's why you have to practice developing your thinking rhythm, because once you're in this business shit, the problems get more and more complex. They don't come at you like A, B, A, B, A, B, and you be like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I got this shit. No, it doesn't work that way. Corporate America trains you to get a job They focus on skill. Excuse me. Colleges focus a lot on skills. Then when you get to corporate America, do you realize they give you just a set of things you do? They don't say, yo, just, figure this shit out. Get back to me with some numbers. A few roles do, but most people move into jobs and their work is very specific. This is what I need you to do. I don't give a shit if you're doing account. I need you to do. Now, as you stay in that job and as you mature, things are going to start getting more and more complex because you got more decisions you got to make, more things that come your way, more combination of things you've never seen before, right? Now, if you're an entrepreneur, it's 10 times worse. I had a client call me, say they wanted a brand before they built their company. I said, you know what that is? That's like you buying a refrigerator and a stove before you buy the house. Now, somebody might say, well, what's wrong with that? If you ever bought a refrigerator and stove for a house, you'll realize how many choices you have. It's ridiculous. And there's so many variables that start to kick in that are so invisible to the outsider. Well, times 1,000,000 for entrepreneurs. We're constantly making all these decisions, but we're using a lot of simple models and principles to help us deal with the unknown. And so you can't afford to think you see everything in this shit. If you don't build a system of saying, okay, I need people to figure shit out, but I need to design a healthy environment to maximize their output, but bringing a whole bunch of people in a room and say, let's work on some shit is not doing anything. And more than likely, the biggest ego is going to cause the most damage. Mm-hmm. Next slide. We're almost done. You're almost done. So, as you argue, the goal is to reach a rich hypothesis. Stop thinking you have to be the author of the truth or the answer or the solution. You don't. When you're trying to make complex decisions in your team, you build rich hypotheses that can be tested. And you move on those tested ideas. You can test it with, hey, we're gonna put some money into it, we're gonna try this out, or we're gonna put it in I can't tell you how many times I see people building, like this is where the minimum viable product comes from. You build an idea that's the best idea, a hypothesis. You go out and test it, let the market give you feedback, you continue to adjust, and through your adjustment, you actually produce something that actually works, right? A healthy process. Now the press secretary gets in the middle, you'll continue to go, I think they call it single loop learning. You'll continue to do something and then come back, think you changed and did the same thing again, which means that you won't change anything because your brain says it's perfect. What are they tripping on? So they'll tell you it too much salt and you'll remove the butter. Like, they didn't say remove the butter? You're like, I think salt, shit, I believe in salt. Elijah Muhammad told me to believe in salt. I'm into salt, right? Being able to build a hypothesis. Now, online last week, somebody was talking about perfectionism. Somebody suggested it might be a good thing. Perfectionism is the opposite of this because you get stuck in a test mode all damn day. You'll never get to the hypothesis stage. When you're building something for the public, the group can't own the outcome. What the group owns is the hypothesis of what is best for the public. The public owns what is best for them. So you build from a hypothesis, and then you let the public tell you if the hypothesis is true or not. But if your ego or your press secretary is so convinced you are so smart, you will over leverage a bad idea to the point you'll go broke. Nobody in the company, nobody within the group, nobody within the organization absolutely owns the opinion of the public. The public is always changing, always changing. And you will hear this all the time within groups. You know what the public needs? You know what young people like? You know what black people want? You know what white people say? You know what Latino people think? Shut the fuck up. We can say, hey, I think they may want this. This is where I'm pulling these clues from. I looked at this data, this insight. So let's design it this way, and let's go test it. And you run the minimum viable product test, and if it starts to catch momentum, okay, then you make that investment and you grow that product and that idea. But press secretary law, it stops us, mixed with perfectionism, we suck. Next slide. So, this last slide. I think we made that. Shit, I'm the man. My daughter does that too. I thought she gets it from me. Wow. She don't never smack right. What are you doing? Where you get that from? Okay. press secretary is destroyed by curiosity. Press secretary does not like curiosity. These are all solutions. When we say be curious, y'all have no idea how important that is. When you run up against something that feels like a friction space for you, or you're uncomfortable, or you feel like you're being threatened, or you feel, start off with curiosity. Jordan, somebody calls you on the phone. No. What happened? Wow, what did you need? Okay. Let me see what I can figure out. Let me ask you a few more questions so I can gather some information for you. Yo, Court, this is what happened. What could we have done different here? Guess what, Court, Jordan? In the end, you become the problem solver because you moved in a curious space. Once you try to hero, fix, be the great person, know the answer, you lose it. That shit cold. See, when you think about talking to people, you think about your household, your family. You get a chance to pull data from them all day and all night. If you decided just to move within your block, you'll realize how much you can't see. But yet some of y'all move amongst new people with the same confidence you move in your own house. And even there, it's questionable, right? Curiosity is a superpower. At every turn, like when somebody tells you something, say to yourself, what did they say that I don't own? Where's the question at for me? You should do it this way. What is this way? Where else can I learn about this? How can I own this for myself? Is it always that way? Is it just a principle? What do I need to look for to know that applies? See how I'm trying to gain ownership of my questions? Or let me show you how you destroy it. Oh, that's heckin' smart. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That makes sense because that's what I was thinking. You see what just happened? Your press secretary just finished the conversation and took off. And they're gonna implement a dumbass idea. Is this shit cold? Once you learn to see this press secretary thing, you guys gonna be like, oh shit, it's cold. So next week we're gonna come back. I'm gonna post an article I'm gonna post an article in the group. Maybe we'll email it just for the sake of class. Well, I'll tell you, I pulled just for the group. I'm gonna post an actual article. There's some books I'm reading around this, but it's called Defense Routines, Defense Behavior. I'm gonna show next week. This is the end of this press secretary thing. I'm gonna show you how defense lives in the most positive language you've ever seen before. How you can say the most positive things, hear the most positive things. It sounds so morally right, and it's all defensive. And I'm gonna show you how defensive thinking positions you to take losses. And offensive thinking is not the popular culture. And most corporations fall into a defensive trap. And when you fall into a defensive trap, you're just counting the days before you're dead. Defensive thinking is the code. Most black people, okay, yeah, give you an example. You've been in a circle and we're philosophizing about what's wrong with white supremacy. And everybody can give you a soliloquy on defense of what is wrong, who did something wrong, who's bad, who's evil, who's foul, right? As soon as somebody says, what's the solution? The conversation goes elementary. 1, 2, 3. Well, we need to vote. We need to learn more. We need to buy black. Got nothing else.
Capitalism.
Why can't black people build businesses? Because we don't support each other. Because these ends are crazy. Right? No. Defensive thinking is literally, it stops the brain from thinking past a certain point. You can't think past that point. So your organization, you can develop defensive thinking, and don't realize that even when I talk to you right now, if I just had a one-on-one conversation with you, all your reasoning starts from a defense first. Mm-hmm. Meaning that, remember, somebody else, okay, making money is scoring points. Mm-hmm. But you worse than Draymond Green, you can't shoot at all. You shoot like Eric Snow, but got defense of you like Ben Wallace, right? Can block the shit out of a shot, but nobody was looking at him for offensive play. Many of y'all move in a community where y'all can defend everything. I see where you're going. Right? Can't make a dime. Can't make a motherfucking dime. You understand me? And so if you don't learn offensive thinking, last story, then we're going home. A young lady, doing business with us. I never tell people names. So don't ever ask me after class. I would never betray these people. So a young lady calls me and my business partner in to negotiate something with them, to place a label on something, a product. And she had an idea that was personal to her heart. She says, Nana, can you work with me? Because this person usually doesn't agree with people that easy. They usually reject everything that comes from me. So can you work with me to get this person to put this label on this product? And it was another person's name that happened to be part of their group. Not the leader, because he's a leader. And he's like, this is my passion product. And they want to put somebody in the group on the product. So I said to them, cool, I help you. I get on the phone and say, hey, listen, man. What I was thinking is maybe you could put your name on this product and that person can go on that product. Because I realized if I don't stimulate that person's ego, nothing happens. So we got the phone, lady's like, why did you say that? I said, because you asked me to negotiate something. So I'm already thinking about what can I give up that has no value? And that was an easy loss. And I realized that as long as I had an ego, okay, I just don't know if I agree with that. So she calls Mashama 3 weeks later. Watch this. Nana, Mashama, it's really bothering me that he said that. Nana said that. I really don't get it. It really disturbs me. It's just really bad. It's 2 weeks later. A month and a half later. Mashama, I was talking to one of my employees and I told them what Nana said and they disagreed too. And I just don't get it. You know what she's stuck in? Defensive thinking. Let me tell you why. You can't go back and change that shit. What the fuck are you talking about? If you're a strategist, what's the next move? It's the only thing you should be thinking about. You can say, I didn't like that, but okay, what moves can I play now? Because there's no such thing as destination in business. You can change shit. You can just delay some shit. There's all kind of different angles and strategies on how to make some shit happen, right? But instead, she will never move forward because she's stuck in what happened and why can't she fix it like black people are? We can't see the forward move because we're stuck in a defensive move that didn't work in our favor. And our fairness kicks in, our ego kicks in, and until we can fix that from a space of defense, I really find it hard it's hard for me to move forward. It's hard for me to think about tomorrow even. It's hard for me to think about what's next. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, I lost. I lost 3 weeks ago. I guess I'm losing tomorrow. I'm going to lose next week. I'm going to lose next year too. You see what happened? Defensive thinking literally tells you your past is your future. That shit cold, ain't it? So next week we're gonna come back. I'm gonna post this article. I'm gonna pull a couple of snippets out of the article. It'll be the end of the press secretary, because defensive thinking, and then once you see defensive thinking, you will see corporate America, how it happens. You will see all these defensive areas and then if you don't fix it within yourself, your language and your words, you can say, you know what, Nana, once again, you know what, I've been working on my defensive thinking. You know me, I'm meditating now. I'm smoking this new weed. I'm on some new shit now. And no, I'm not defensive at all, bro. You got me fucked up. I'm not defensive. But you only have defensive words. And in systems, the word you use gives you unintended consequences. So until you kind of go through a holistic relationship with yourself on a defensive mindset, you will think you're not being defensive, but the way you just choose the words you choose creates defensive behavior in your team. And you're like, where's this coming from? They're just taking cues from their leader, like everybody does. That being said, as they say in Florida, I'll see y'all next week, all right?